Welcome back to WRPL, the podcast where we talk about all the things we are watching, reading, playing, and listening to. My name's Ben.
And I'm Steve.
How you doing, Steve?
I'm doing well, Ben. It's Last of Us night, so it's always fun.
Yeah, an extra long wait. Instead of our 7 days, we had to wait 9. Stupid HBO giving us something early and good. Jerks.
Just to make us wait even longer. Classic HBO move.
Yeah. So let's roll first. Let's
All
get that
right.
out of the way.
D20 coming at you.
No. 13. Right?
15. You're close.
Okay, all right. All right, had it pretty.
I'm going to say this is a 9.
5.
Damn.
I suck. I'm glad I don't actually play D&D because with these rolls, I'd be done instantly.
I wish you played D&D because failing is kind of like the funny part.
And really keep the DM on its toes.
I mean, getting a nat 20 is great, and you hype yourself up because maybe you get like a bunch of damage on a guy, and then maybe you get a nat 1 and you like fall down a bunch of stairs and break your neck. It's all part of the game.
Well, and speaking of D&D, we have only a few things to talk about. Our two main topics are Antman 3, or I guess Antman and the Wasp, Quantumania, and Magic Mike's Last Dance. But we're going to talk some Vox Machina and some other TV shows and a movie. Pretty simple, maybe short episode. We'll see. How long-winded we like to get when it comes to Last of Us. Do you want to just start with Last of Us?
Sure.
All right, Last of Us. Episode 6, titled Kin. So, let's see, where we left off, two brothers dying, sad, but we've moved on. Ellie's a bit more hardened now. Joel's maybe a little more softened, and we come across, what's the name of the town?
Jackson.
Jackson. Yes, that looks, once again, video game accurate. Looks just like the town in Last of Us 2. Joel gets to have a nice reunion with his brother, and oh yeah, but like since Joel is kind of second guessing himself, like maybe this is where they split up, and Tommy has to take over. Nobody I truly believed that was going to happen, but
I mean, I could, if I had never played the game before, I could see like, oh, this will be like a one episode thing, and then somehow Joel like hear that, oh, I heard somebody got caught out there in the Wyoming forest. It's like, I gotta go get Ellie. And then he goes, yeah, I could see it being that kind of thing, but.
Yeah. And nice to have an episode where no one is killed, like that opening scene with the two elderly people. If we had kept with the pattern as the last couple episodes, they would have been dead
For sure.
pretty quick. And I'm surprised, like, they got that actor. I don't know his name, but he's in so much stuff.
Yeah, well, when there's only like 4 Native American actors in Hollywood, you always kind of pull from the same crop.
Yeah.
Because he's just like one of the go-to guys. But yeah, I mean, happy to see him.
Yeah.
He's always good.
Yeah. I've never had any complaints with that guy, but so yeah, good, bad. What did you like this episode?
I really like this episode. I thought that, after episode 1, I was just like, this is Joel. I really like Ellie, but like immediately I was like, this is Joel. And this was the episode where it's just like, you know what? This chick's Ellie. Like, I thought this was a great episode for her.
She's so sassy in this one. She's instantly like so angry at everyone, even though it's like, hey, here, come have this nice warm meal and have some new clothes. And she's just like, give me my fucking gun.
Yeah.
Like, she's just on edge.
Well, and I think that makes sense because like with everyone else, she's kind of aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
But this episode, she's like really like warm and like very daughter-like to Joel because like Joel's like my guy now. We've been at this for months together. So I can appreciate that sort of back and forth dynamic, and I don't know. I really thought she was great this episode, and I liked their little sort of like sweet bonding moments to like it's gonna go bad the second that's like any human connection happens at all, which it does in the end. But I guess we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like this episode. We talked about it last week where we saw in the preview that they end up in Jackson instead of like the
The
dam
dam.
mission, which like they reference is like, oh look, it's a
It's a
dam, but instead
dam.
of going to, it's like, yeah, this just powers
Yeah,
our town,
makes sense.
and now you have an established spot where they will return to,
Mm-hmm.
maybe in
Hope,
season 2.
hopefully, I. And once again, not a lot of infected or no infected, really. You know, we don't
Hmm.
get. They said it last episode, like for a show about monsters, there really isn't a lot, and there really isn't.
Hmm.
Next week we'll get some at least one.
Yeah.
uh,
Uh,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah. Well, I think it's probably the smart choice to focus on characters because that's
Sure.
kind of like when you can't do video game stuff and video game is 50% combat if
Mm-hmm.
not more,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, we can't constantly be showing Joel kill like 10 infected an episode or whatever
Yeah.
because it's like, well, then they're not going to seem very scary,
Mm-hmm.
and the times we have gotten them, I think they've been fairly effective. You're just doing the Jaws thing. It's like we're keeping them in reserve, and
Mm-hmm.
then when we need them they're going to be like real fucked up.
Yeah.
um
In last episode, we kind of got a whole bunch of
a
it. So,
ton. So yeah, it's like episode with crazy stuff, break, episode, crazy stuff, break. It's classic back and forth.
yeah.
You all right, man?
My fucking brain, man. I can't. I
Joel,
have an idea,
Ellie,
and then you say
Tommy,
something, and it's like, oh, yeah, that's a good point. And it just trickles out of my ear because I can't remember shit.
references, the college,
But
monkeys.
yeah, I mean, once again, game accurate college. We get monkeys. I thought they were gonna maybe throw the giraffes in here and just be like, "Look, we're doing it all in one," and
No.
then I'd be vindicated in some way. But we do switch
You'd
it.
be wrong on two fronts.
uh, but we switch it up a little bit. You know, you only get a little bit of action in the college. And instead of falling off of a scaffolding and impaling himself on some rebar, he gets stabbed with a broken baseball bat right in the
Hmm.
fucking gut. And
Which is fine.
yeah,
It's just so interesting that like a big part of that game was getting to this college and spending like it's a pretty long mission and
yeah,
there's like
it's
tons of areas to search, like searching
mm-hmm,
dorm rooms, you're running into infected all over the place, you're running into these bad guys, and it's
yeah.
like, oh, we're gonna go to college, but we're gonna be there for 3 minutes of screen time. It's like,
Yeah,
what? Okay,
yeah, because
I
the real
guess
purpose is you show up there, they're not
they're not
here,
here.
time to move on.
Yeah,
And then it's just like, yeah, we'd rather spend more time in Jackson with the family stuff, and,
yeah.
and that is more important.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's just like I see why you did it. I'm fine with why you did it. And it's kind of like, what would happen if you spent more time here?
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? It probably would have been a worse show. And I'm like, well, we did a whole episode of the college. They really didn't do anything.
Yeah. Yeah, you could really stretch this to a 13, 15 episode season, and there would be a lot of that, a lot of just the traversal and combat stuff that you love in the game. Just
But it would probably be boring to
it'd
watch
be
them.
very boring. Yeah, there's only so many times you could be quiet for a clicker. Like, we
Hmm.
get it. That's the threat. We don't have to do it so much. So video games and TV are just like totally different medium, and they could complement each
But
other.
just once I want to see Joel get into like a firefight or infected or walking around and just see Ellie like walking in front of the infected and the infected just not see them.
Yeah,
Just not realize. It's like, wow, it's just like the game.
that would be pretty funny. Still haven't seen him pop open a door with a shiv, but I don't think shivs are really a thing in this because, that makes sense for a video game. You need this craftable and consumable thing, and it gives you a purpose to rummage around through all these things. Where in the real world, we have knives and they don't
Yeah,
break.
that's if I if I have one complaint about The Last of Us One, it's shivs, because it's a ridiculous concept. Because you can like go into all these buildings that haven't had people in them for ages or whatever and find like bullets and all this other
Hmm.
crap. You can constantly find those things, but you can't find a knife, the
Yeah.
most common household item
Yeah.
in the world. You can't find a
A
knife.
knife. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you want to do a thing where it's like, oh, this only gets 3 uses because, like, oh, it's a shitty kitchen knife. Like, you
Yeah.
really can't stab. It's not designed to stab monsters for a long
No.
period of time. Like, it's crazy to me that Ellie has a switchblade that works constantly, but it's like, I gotta build my own knives.
Uh-huh.
Come on, what are we doing here, folks?
Yeah. It always bugged me in games when you're fighting and you pick up a baseball bat. It breaks after 5 hits. Okay, wooden baseball bat, I get it. But then you would have someone pick up like a lead pipe and then that breaks. I'm like, no, if I'm in the zombie apocalypse, I bet I could keep that pipe the entire time. That's not gonna break on someone's head.
Unless you like do some crafting, and now you have like nails in the
Yeah,
pipe, and somehow that makes it last
sure,
longer.
sure. Let's see, what else happened in this? Potentially Dina creeping in the background, but just an Easter egg
Yeah, I
that,
think that's just like a thing to like make the internet freak out, but
yeah,
really isn't like a
it's
thing.
nothing.
Yeah, it's
It
nothing.
you could chalk it up to, yeah, there's a bunch of kids and they're seeing this other kid come in and they'd be curious and excited because maybe some of those people have really never been outside the town and ooh, how exciting,
Mhm.
a new person. But no, they know what they're doing when it comes to that. Just sprinkle a little. Oh, maybe this could be her girlfriend.
Tommy has a kid, which
Oh yeah,
you said you think is in the game, and I don't remember if it
I
is.
thought his wife says something to Joel, or maybe even it's just to Ellie about like, got to keep him safe.
Yeah,
The family is expanding, something like
right,
that.
right, right. Because like playing Last of Us 2, it's not like you ever saw, at least to my brain and memory. I don't remember ever seeing like Tommy playing with his kid or anything
No,
outside the town. It was
but you
just,
do
but
see
like
him with
Tommy
his
was constantly
wife.
like, "Let's go get this person who may or
Mm-hmm.
may not appear in season two."
Yeah.
There was always a Tommy was around quite a bit in that game, but I never
Mm-hmm.
felt like Tommy cared
Yeah.
too much about like his
Staying
family.
home.
He was
Yeah,
just
because
like,
you only see his wife the one time in the beginning, I believe, and then she's not in the rest of the game.
yeah, you meet her for the first time at the dam in the first
Yeah,
game,
in the
but
second
in the second
game.
game, she's just there for like the first 2 hours of the game or so, and
Yeah.
then you don't ever see her again.
Nice little Easter egg, I guess, of Tommy telling Ellie like, "Oh, I could teach you how to shoot, like how to use a sniper rifle," which was like a one of the worst missions in The Last of Us 2. I hated that so much. Like, go to aim, a couple feet above their head because the bullet falls. I get it, realistic physics, but I'm fighting zombies. It's not realistic. I don't want that shit in my game. I hated that spot, that part because it took me so long because I'm not a good sniper person. I'm not a first person
No,
shooter, anything.
I mean, I like sniper stuff, but I don't like super accurate sniper stuff where it's just like my gun is constantly like
Yeah, the
in
sway.
motion and
Hmm.
the sway, yeah, and I have to like press R3 or something to like
Yeah.
breathe in and like keep it steady for a second. It's like, or you could just make
Yeah.
a game where it's constantly steady and actually make
Yeah.
it fun.
But at least
But
that like it wasn't as important to the story since it is like a flashback scene and it's over relatively
yeah,
quick.
yeah,
But
yeah. Uh,
next episode, I mean, there's not much else to say in this
no, I
episode,
just
right?
want to. I think this was a great acting showcase
Mm-hmm.
for Pedro Pascal.
Sure.
Uh, Joel, I don't think that conversation that he has with Tommy. I don't know if that exists in the game. It's been a while.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm not
obviously
sure.
he tells Tommy, but it's not like he has a breakdown of just like I'm afraid to lose my new
Yeah.
daughter or anything like that.
Uh-huh.
But I thought he was great in that. As he's been so stoic the entire
Mm-hmm.
show. It's nice to see him like show emotion,
Yeah.
and the fact that they gave him like this like his heart is starting again panic attack thing. It's like he's now afraid for the first time in
Yeah.
20 years.
It's
It's pretty.
been cold and frozen all these years and now it's actually like feeling things and it doesn't know what to do.
Yeah. So that's kind of fun. I'm not sure if I like care about it.
Yeah, it's
But
not going to really
it's
factor into
yeah.
anything.
But yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah. I don't think I have anything else. The show certainly is moving at a breakneck pace, I
Yeah,
think.
but and
And
we still have 3 episodes left, and I feel like that's still a good amount of episodes, and it
mm,
feels like we've been kind of watching the show for a while. Where some shows, it's like, Jesus, it's done already. I can't believe it. I feel like we're really relishing it and just savoring all this good stuff.
fair
I mean,
enough.
come back to me when there's 1 episode left, and I'm just like, "Ah, don't end."
And then yeah, I'm really curious as to when season two would air. Like I could see it being one of those things like
2025.
yeah, you'll get it like 2 or 3 years from now.
Yeah, 2025 for sure.
Okay.
And especially since that's such a longer.
December of 2025.
Yes, yeah, yeah. We'll get a Mandalorian season 4 before we get Last of Us season 2. But because there's so much stuff in the second game, it has to be 2 seasons for that. I would think. Whether you do it the one season is all Ellie stuff, and then you go one season's all Abby, or if you switch back and forth between episodes, I don't think you could tell everything with the seraphites, or
Mm, yeah, I mean,
there's just a lot
it
to it.
definitely have to. I think if it's not 2 seasons, I think it would definitely be a longer season. It's like, oh, season one was 9, this one's 13, and I
Mm-hmm.
think you would. I mean, we're just getting into speculation,
Sure.
just going, but I would think that instead of uh, for players who know the game and for people who don't, it's like you can just do those storylines simultaneously because they
Yeah.
are existing at the same
Yeah.
time. And I think that would be a more interesting way to do that as opposed to half and half, or like here's the Ellie episode and the next episode's
Mm-hmm.
the Abby episode. I think you kind of just
And
uh,
and for
intercut between
TV,
those.
you kind of need it when you're rooting for Ellie and she's killing these people. If you had to wait a whole year to see it from someone else's perspective and oh shit, she killed that pregnant lady, are you gonna not everybody's gonna remember that, so you're
Mhm.
gonna have to kind of go back and forth where it works just kind of differently when you're playing a game.
Yeah, I think without getting the spoilers of the second game, I think there's if one person the point of that game was just like for the first part you're just like, oh, this person is the villain, and
Mm-hmm.
then you play as that character and then it's like, oh well, they're not really the villain, this other person may be kind of the villain. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just like that. I think it'll be an easier transition if like you're watching the show and both storylines are happening simultaneously, where you're constantly going back and forth between who's good and who's bad and why everything's justified and not and that kind of thing. So I think that would be the move, but there are
Yeah,
much smarter people than us who would make a far better show.
for
So
sure. And we may even get like 3 episodes of Ellie before we even meet Abby,
mhm.
and then you start going back and forth. Oh, I can't wait till the thing happens of season 2, just to see people who've never played the game experience it.
Mhm.
And I wonder if they're going to have the same sort of backlash that the game did. But anybody who talks shit on the second game is a moron.
Yeah.
If you want to complain about the gameplay or how repetitive it is with the searching for scrap and it's not a huge variety of enemies, I could understand those complaints, but story, shut up. It's so wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I'm pretty sure we said this before in the podcast. In my personal opinion, I think the second game is better than the first one,
Mm-hmm.
because I would say gameplay wise, you can't argue that it's worse. I
Yeah.
think it takes everything from the first game and makes it better.
Mm-hmm.
If your only argument is that you didn't like the story as much as one, but that's the difference between like an A story and an A minus story
Yeah.
to me. Like
Mm-hmm.
the second game story is just as good. To me as the first one. The Last of Us series in general is the greatest game series of all time. There's no question about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't wait for the second season. I can't wait for a third game, hopefully, because it's got to be coming down the pipeline.
I would think
Um,
so, and that's another reason why I can see them expanding the next game to 2 seasons, because they said they didn't want to do anything that's not in the games,
mhm.
and do it like what so many animes do and just go like, oh well, fuck, we got to riff for a while, we until more mangas come out, we just had to make shit up. That will give them enough time to get that next game out. But maybe they're not really focusing on too much. They're still making tons of money off the remakes and the remasters and the
And
re-releases.
this
And
show has made them a ton of money
oh
because
yeah.
everyone's like, man, this show's pretty good. I guess I'll play this game.
I mean, even people that don't play video games, like my roommate, she was kind of interested in playing. I don't know if she'll ever actually do it, but I can see a lot of people going, "Oh, if the game is just as engaging as this show, then maybe I can get behind playing a game." But
Mhm.
all right, yeah. Next episode is Abby's backstory, so that'll be cool. We'll get to see.
Ellie's backstory.
Oh, god damn it! Jesus Christ. It is kind of a weird choice that they named the character so similar. Why couldn't it be Ellie and then like Tabitha? Very different. You're not going to mix those up. Ellie and Abby, whatever. Okay, so let's move on.
All right.
I think you should go first. You have one more thing than I do.
All right, the first thing I'll say, just real quick, I've watched season 2 of Search Party.
Okay.
It's great. This show, I love it. Everyone makes me laugh. Drew and Elliot are just hilarious. I think season 2 is not as good as season 1 because
Mm-hmm.
the mystery behind season 1 is what really kind of like kept me engaged and like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, is this person involved with this or like what's actually happening? And then you kind of get your twist ending where this is just kind of like how do we deal with what happens at the end of season 1, which
Yeah.
is still like all very good.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a bad episode.
Because it's the
Um,
like court case and
no, no,
everything.
no.
No.
It's them going like, okay, we buried this body.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Now we have to like live our lives and like hopefully not get caught. And then by the end of season 2, spoiler alert, she gets caught. And
Okay.
so
Okay.
season 3 is like them starting to like there's arrests that are made and court
Okay.
and like whatever. So I'm only 3 or 4 episodes into season 3.
Okay. Does
Which
Elliot, is he like working for a news company or anything?
no.
Have you done? No. Okay.
Uh, But yeah, every episode makes me like actually laugh out loud. I think my favorite joke from season 2 is there's a certain character that tries to blackmail them, and it's just like, I want $60,000, and you have 2 days, and then they all have like a meeting together, and it's just like, if I could get, and Drew says, if I could get $60,000 in 2 days, I would have $60,000 every 2 days. It's like, this is impossible. There's no way we can get this money.
Yeah.
And Elliot has like a mental breakdown and is like he loses hair. He's got
Oh
all these like
God.
splotches all over him,
Yeah.
and he writes like his like book memoir on like napkins or like paper towels or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And he also has this like it's such a funny acting choice where Portia comes to visit him and she's like, hey buddy, how you doing? And it's like, are you sure you're okay? He's like, yeah, girl, I got you. And then just like sticks out his tongue like a lizard. And just comes out of nowhere. It's so weird. But yeah, I think Elliot is one of my favorite sitcom characters. Everything he says is great. And if I had to recommend the show from a mystery standpoint, from a
Mm-hmm.
comedy standpoint, it's great. And I should have listened to you years ago
Yeah.
when you pitched it to me.
Yeah. So
So
listen to me now when I say when you're done, you need to watch The After Party. I know it's on Apple and you don't have Apple, but if you like the actor who plays Elliot, he's in that. But you
oh
also get Ben Schwartz, you also get Dave Franco, and oh, what's his name? He was in Werewolves Within. He was in Detroit.
Sam Richardson.
Yeah, Sam Richardson's in it. Uh, Tiffany Haddish. It's an excellent. It's a good companion show, even though they're different. I think they're in the
I mean,
same
I
comedy
know
vibe.
Apple is going to be in my future at some point. It's just I don't know when.
How about when Ted Lasso season 3 is completely out? You get it. You watch that. You watch The After Party. You watch Severance. And you just do a big Apple watch, and that's all for the whole month. Just nothing but Apple, and then cancel that shit.
Yeah.
Even though it is one of the cheaper streaming services out there, it's like $5. It's nothing.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, all the streaming services I have, I only pay for Disney. But if I need, like, I think if it came down to just like, hey, we're like running low on money. This
Mhm.
kid that I'm about to have is like taking all our stuff. We need to make cutbacks. I'm like, cool, get rid of everything. Just keep HBO.
Yeah.
It's like HBO has the least amount of content, but it's always the
Sure.
best
It's
content.
always good. And there's
Uh,
always movies on there.
yeah. And like the only thing I care about on Netflix, I think now is Stranger Things,
Sure.
which is about to end in the next year, I would hope.
I don't think we're getting another season for at least
Till
2 years.
24.
I would say 25. I think they said
There's
they were
no
gonna
way that's
that they were
true.
gonna take some time before they do the last one. Let the
No.
kids age up some.
Okay, well then I can cancel it for 2 years
Yeah.
and just get it back for a month or whatever.
I think if I had to only pay for one and that was the only thing I got, it'd probably be Prime.
Mm.
There's just enough stuff on there.
Yeah, Prime would be hard to lose because you got The Boys, you got Invincible, which that's probably what I'm most excited about. Rings of Power, even though no one else seems to like
Sure.
it. There's plenty of stuff on there.
Yeah.
Anywho,
yeah, I think you should do your other one because my only thing we can both talk about. So tell me about The Lost City.
okay, yes, it was Valentine's Day, and my wife and I were looking for like a romantic-esque movie to watch, and there really wasn't like a lot. It was like a lot of stuff we'd already seen, or just stuff that like didn't look that good. So it was between The Lost City and Shotgun Wedding with Jennifer Lopez and Josh Duhamel.
Oh,
Yeah, so I was like, I'm much more willing to watch The Lost City.
Hell yeah.
And
yeah, it's got what's his face? Harry Potter. What's his name?
Daniel Radcliffe.
Daniel Radcliffe, and he doesn't really miss all that much.
He's a perfectly good villain in this. It's fun to see him play like kind of a dick. This movie was fine. I think it's exactly what you would expect it to be.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't love the chemistry between Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum.
Okay. Seems like that'd be kind of effortless. Yeah. She's a very likable person, and he's very charming.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that like watching them, I'd be like, oh, these people don't have chemistry like at all. Like I think in the context of the movie, it's passable. I just didn't really believe it for me personally.
Mm.
She was kind of like this jaded writer, and she was always just so mean to him because she's like, oh, he's just like a pretty boy dumb guy,
Mm-hmm.
which Channing Tatum has pretty much mastered the ability to play
Yeah.
dumb pretty people,
Mm-hmm.
which is great.
Yeah. At least he's like aware of it.
Yeah,
Yeah. He
and
knows his strengths.
he's fairly funny in this, but it's my problem with Channing Tatum is just like I've seen him do this character before of
Yeah.
being like kind of the muscly dumb guy,
Yeah.
um, and you know this isn't a indictment of people who get plastic surgery, but there's quite a few scenes in this where like Sandra Bullock's face doesn't really move,
Um.
and it just kind of like bummed me out as I was watching it. Because everything I've really seen Sandra Bullock in, like I like her. I don't think she's a bad actress or
Mm-hmm.
like makes really bad movies or anything like that. But it was just the first time I was just like, oh, there's something not quite right here.
That's how I
Um,
felt like watching the last few Scream movies with Courtney Cox, and just like, oh, girl, what'd you do? You just killed your face.
And it's not even like a matter of just like looking good or not. It's just
No.
like you're an actor and your face isn't moving when it
Yes.
should be,
Mm-hmm.
and that's my issue.
Yeah.
Uh, but
Just
yeah,
age gracefully. Hollywood, let women just age gracefully. God, these gorgeous people are fucking with their faces, and it's never good. No one ever looks better after plastic surgery when it comes to lips. You could pull back a little bit, hide the wrinkles, fix a nose, all that stuff is really easy to do. But the moment you touch the lips, you fucked your face. It's awful.
Brad Pitt's in it though
It,
for a few
I
minutes.
imagine him, he's like sleepwalking through this role. I can't.
It seems like he's having fun. Like
Okay.
I feel like I think this is the first time Brad Pitt and Sandra Bullock have actually been in a movie together,
Huh.
which is surprising because I feel like they would have done
Yeah, in the
something.
late 90s,
Uh,
early
yeah,
2000s, you think
yeah,
they would have
yeah.
paired up.
But he was a fun little cameo. He got a fair amount of screen time as this sort of black ops soldier who comes in to rescue her and then just gets killed
Oh, does he
as he does.
die?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he saves her, gets her out, and like makes and Channing Tatum's like, oh man, let me like help you, and Brad Pitt's just like a nice guy about it. Just like, fine, you can come with me, but like stay out of my way because Brad Pitt is just like killing bad guys left and right,
Hmm.
or just like knocking them out cold. And they escape, and they're like, all right, time to get in the car, and then just sniper bullet through the head, just dead, blood all blood all over the place. It's like, oh, well, it's cool that he was in this for a minute. Oh, you know what? They did do a movie together, Bullet Train, where she was the voice. This
Oh,
was
yeah.
like a
But
double, but
yeah.
that doesn't really
But
count.
that came out after
And
this,
they didn't
and
even
it's
share a
only
scene.
yeah, and the she's only in that because it's like she's doing Brad Pitt a favor if he did her a favor.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
Channing Tatum's in Bullet Train as well. You know, Ryan Reynolds. They're all just like buddy, and
yeah.
like, yeah, I got a day. I'll sit in a chair and crack one joke and collect my $50,000.
But this movie also seemed like a movie that should have come out in like the
Yeah.
2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Just from in terms of like its comedy stylings and everything. Like there's a scene where they have to like swim through some water and they come out and Channing Tatum has like leeches all over him, but
Yeah.
it's like they're only on his butt. So it's like this movie has more Channing Tatum nudity. I mean, it wasn't a wide shot, so maybe it wasn't his butt, but
Mm-hmm.
I think I read some IMDb trivia that is like him and Sandra Bullock like this is our first scene together and I have to show her my butt or whatever.
Okay.
So it's just like this movie had more nudity with Channing Tatum than the other movie that we're about to talk about
Yeah.
with actual stripping in it,
Yeah.
which is so weird. But it was uh, perfectly acceptable for a like it's a date night movie, whatever. We'll throw it on. I always like sort of treasure hunting adventure
Yeah.
storylines because they kind of like it was a rescue mission that becomes this like treasure hunt
Mm-hmm.
because she's a writer who does like adventure novels,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess this is a sort of loose remake of Romancing the Stone,
Oh, okay.
which I've never seen Romancing the Stone,
It's
but I
good. I
know
like
you're
it.
aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And through her like knowledge of like she studied like ancient civilizations or whatever in college and like she used that in her writing, and so it's like she's the only one who can decipher this language that will like lead them to this treasure and yada yada yada.
And
It's
wackiness ensues.
and wackiness ensues. Yeah. So if you have nothing better to watch, it's not awful, but it's not a movie I'd recommend.
Okay.
If you like Channing Tatum and you want to see his butt, I guess watch this.
So like a C plus? B minus?
I'd say a solid C.
Okay.
Just a C.
All right. Well, I didn't watch a lot. I don't know what I've been watching this week. I finished Vox Machina relatively quick.
Do you know
Maybe
what part I'm talking about when I said the coolest thing I've ever seen a dragon do?
is it acid dragon just dripping all over that city, or was it like turbocharged neck dragon?
Turbocharged neck dragon,
I
man.
knew it had to be one of those two, because like acid dragon is such a cool idea. He doesn't even have to spit it; he's just like flapping his wings. Everyone's melting. I was like, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That must be what Steve's talking about. And then this dude does like this power up turbocharge where all the holes in his neck light up, and then does a Godzilla beam or his regular beam, and then hones it to be
And
like
then
a
it becomes like
Godzilla
a
beam.
nuke, and I was like, that is awesome.
How did anybody survive that city? Because they get to another fortress and then like, oh, everybody get inside, you'll be safe here. How did anybody get out? You have a poison dragon, an acid dragon, a fire dragon, and an ice dragon. That acid one should have been able to kill everybody just flapping around. But
I mean, it is a city with like 500,000 people or whatever.
Sure,
and
I guess, but
they
they're
are
also
large monsters, but they can't cover that amount of ground that fast.
uh,
His acid didn't like necessarily eat through buildings and stuff. Like people, there's plenty of people who could have gotten away,
I guess
but
it
most
just
people did not.
yeah, it was really messed up. I mean, even the king died, or I don't know if his title is king, but whoever that was,
He was on the Council of Taldora.
yeah.
Whatever that means.
uh, so yeah, I wasn't gonna watch this show just because I didn't love season one, but I really didn't have anything else to watch.
Okay.
And you and a buddy at work really said, it fucking kicks off like nothing. So I figured, fuck it, I'll watch it. And after watching that first episode, it was like, okay, you got me, show. I'll continue. And I watched like maybe the first 4 episodes,
Okay, wow.
like right away. I truly thought when, you start off and it's a big celebration and they're congratulating Vox Machina from saving the day, and then 4 dragons come and start fucking shit up. And I was just waiting for it to cut to black and then go like 1 year earlier. Like this was going to be the final fight of the season, and it's just a nice tease.
Like of the series or okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just for the like, look, by the time you get to episode 10 or 12 or whatever it is, this is going to be the cool fight that we'll get back to. I'm like, no, this is how we're opening the show. Just like pure death and destruction, and starting everybody like back to zero. Like the world is going back to zero pretty much. But yeah, this season is great, and I think I'm going to go back and rewatch season 1 and see why I didn't enjoy it as much. I'm pretty sure it is like some of the dick and ass jokes that really soured me.
Yeah, the first season, it really, I think, struggled to find the proper tone because it is like both silly and serious.
Yeah.
Where this one, I think, definitely went like, okay, we'll be a serious show, but we'll also have like joke moments.
Yeah.
Like there is like a acid trip episode there. Scanlan still does do like his silly songs, but the songs this season, like the Rage song in episode 10, the like heavy metal action sequence, I fucking love that song.
Yeah, that was pretty good. It really does feel like a D&D campaign. I can just kind of see the things of like, oh, everybody's got to go and get the magical artifacts to defeat the big bad guy. And wouldn't you know it, all these artifacts are perfect for each of these characters in the show.
The person who uses the bow gets a bow.
Oh,
Whoa.
You mean the big strong guy gets the gauntlets? Whoa, who would have thought? So everybody gets kind of like a nice leveling up upgrade, except for like Pike and Percy don't really, because they had bigger stories in season 1. So I think they're just like kind of more back burner characters this season.
Yeah, Percy definitely has taken the backseat this season, considering season 1 was pretty much all his story, which is good. So the only people who don't have a vestige right now are Pike, Percy, and Keyleth. I mean, Keyleth had her like
she got her fire
bending,
which like I didn't even like. Oh, she's from the Air Tribe, and she's going on her magical quest to learn the other elements. Like how unoriginal, like how boring and simple, and it's fine, I guess. But it's like she's an airbender, and she has to learn these things. Yeah, you switch it up. She learns fire before other things, but I don't know. I think that's kind of like a low point in the show. It just seems so basic. But hey, what do I know? I'm sure.
Well, it's funny because she's a member of the Air Ashari, but you don't really see her ever use like air-based
No,
moves.
she's plants most of the
She's
time.
plant
Plants and
because she's a
animals.
druid, and druids
Yeah.
are animal-based things. And so yeah, I'm not as I have a good knowledge of Critical Role
Mm-hmm.
and these characters, but Keela's the one I have probably like the least knowledge on.
Mm-hmm.
So as to like what the meaning of like these tribes are and her journey to like learn other elements and all that kind of stuff and become the leader of her people, yada yada yada. Like I really can't like talk to that considering like I can talk about like druid. I know she's a moon druid and like
Mm-hmm.
those abilities and that kind of stuff, but it's like it just feels like I didn't have an idea, so we'll go with Aang, I
Yeah.
guess. So eh.
Yeah, but she gets an upgrade because she learns a new power.
I really liked her episode where she does become this fire demon. I thought
Mm-hmm.
that shit was cool.
I think it came a little kind of easy. It's just
Oh, for
it's
sure.
like, oh, here's my episode where you meet my dad, and here's my people's struggle, and oh, I'm not sure of myself if I can do it. Oh wait, no, I can do it, and I'm the best, and now I leveled up.
Mhm.
So some of that stuff, it's like I said, it's a little simple, but I can't really complain. I don't want them to spend 3 episodes really, working this out. If it's not as important to the main plot, yeah, let's just keep it moving.
Mhm. Did you recognize the voice of the satyr kind of dude in the Fey realm who was like joking
Oh,
around with
who
them?
was
Who was like drawing
drawing
like
porn?
porn?
No, I didn't.
So that was an old Hobbit friend of ours, Billy Boyd.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
and season one had Dominic Monaghan. He was a dwarf who was like helping
Yeah.
them in Whitestone.
Okay.
I think he died though, if I
Okay.
remember correctly. I can't remember, but it's like they've gotten hobbits to be on their show, which I
That's
think is
cool.
pretty
But then
cool.
he turns into someone at the end, and I'm sure that person will be important in season 3. Do you know what that's all about?
I think I had to look it up and I've
Mm,
forgotten now.
okay.
Oh wait, yeah, okay, I do remember who it is. Yeah, and that is a season 3 thing, or no, next campaign thing.
Oh, not even this campaign.
I think it's the next
It's a
campaign thing.
further because like I did rewatch episode 1 of season 3, and you can just like see little things that are the hints of later, like they even reference it when she sees like the eyes of the dragon and goes like, oh, that's ominous and
Hmm.
ancient and yada yada, but it really didn't play into anything at that moment. Yeah, they were fighting the blue dragon. So it's really good writing for them to just go like, yeah, we'll drop this in. You're not going to see this maybe for a few years, but when you do, that's payoff.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like the biggest credit I'll give to I guess Matt Mercer, who is the DM of
Mm-hmm.
Critical Role and does a bunch of background voice for the show, because that's the really impressive thing. Like if you're a good DM, where like a character can make a choice in this session, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna write that down, and remember it, because
Mm-hmm.
then I can take that character who was nothing here and bring that character back,
Mm-hmm.
or oh, they killed this character, but it wasn't how I wanted to do it, so I'll like make it so like that character can be resurrected, and now they're even more powerful. Like
Yeah.
that's the fun thing about D&D. It's like these choices that you make, you don't think that they're really going to matter, and then sessions later, it's like, oh shit, like I didn't see that coming because I totally forgot about that because
Mm-hmm.
we've been playing for years, and
Yeah.
here it is again. So it's
And
really neat.
and I like how it does feel like you're actually playing a game when Vex gets stabbed and she dies.
Hmm.
I, for a moment, and also when they did it with Pike, is like maybe in the actual original campaign, someone just had like a real shit roll and their character
Hmm.
died. I can't see them allowing that to happen. It'd be, oh, you're mortally wounded, you're out of the game because come on, we gotta keep you in. We're not gonna kick you off the show for it. But I thought like, wow, did that actually happen? And so I was thinking we're going to see one of these characters actually die and then they're just gone. And it just happened to be one of the consequences of this crazy random happenstance that happened. Of course, it's not, and it's just a fake out. But
Hmm.
I like thinking about that stuff when I watch. When Grog has the blade and he breaks it, that could have been like, oh, you rolled and you were able to break it. But him like sapping his muscles out of him could have been because of something else that happened within the game. Whereas if he rolled differently, he wouldn't have had that
Hmm.
happen. It's hard to say what the DM really has in mind of what they know has to happen and what is happenstance. So it's fun watching the show and trying to like pick those parts.
Yeah, it's always interesting to watch. Like for so Critical Role, all their seasons are like 100 episodes. Like they play 100 sessions, and so like for all their characters to like make it to the end, it just seems like statistically like you gotta like fight something that like kills you guys.
Yeah.
And it's like yeah, they can like fall in combat all the time, and they just successfully roll so they don't die. Or like there's plenty of people in the team who's like, well, here's a healing potion, or here's like Pike is their healer, so they have that person bring him back. Or it's a matter of just like a guest star will come on and it's like, okay, I know this character can bring people back to life, so this is an episode where like I can kill them without like here's the thing, it kills you instantly. And it's like, well,
what
shit.
the fuck?
It's like, well, thank God this guy's here. It's like that's just like a DM thing. But anyway, I forget where I was going with that. What were we talking about?
Just you know, in game and in show.
But there is, from my knowledge of the show, like characters do die, but it's like almost impossible to die in D&D in a lot of ways. But I can't get into that because that's future stuff.
Yeah, you don't need to spoil that for me. But I did try to watch the first episode of Critical Role today. And
you're never gonna.
No.
Okay.
Because it spends like 15 minutes doing backstories for everybody, introducing
campaign 1, episode 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was like the screen was blurred out. Like it looked like there was animation or something, but they didn't have the rights to put it on YouTube or something, so it's just foggy over it. You could see shapes moving.
I think if I remember correctly, it was just like technical difficulties. Like because this was like their first episode.
Yeah.
These guys.
I mean, I know there's mic.
Yeah.
Things.
It's weird because like they've been in the industry for a long time, just doing voiceovers, but this is like their first time like putting on a show. Like, they're not front of camera people.
Yeah. But it seemed like it was a pre-recorded thing that okay, let's have this play while we get set up and everything. And if it was a pre-recorded thing, why is it blurred out? Well, I would think maybe it wasn't blurred out when it was on, when they were live streaming it. But now that it's on YouTube, like, we don't have the rights to show this stuff.
Yeah,
so
I'm not exactly sure how it
so
works.
that was annoying. And so I get through everybody's bio and they introduce themselves and then they start playing. And it's so much slower than any other thing. It's slower than just someone telling you a story. It's slower than any movie or TV show. And I got to about 10 minutes in and I was like, no, I'm not going to sit here and listen for 3 hours of this, especially when these 3 hours may just be like the first 10 steps of this campaign. I'm not going to get into that. So I stopped it. But there was like a wizard character in the beginning.
Yeah, this is a whole thing. So he was a guy who came into the show and who like played with them at home before they like even did this like recording, and he played for the first I think like 28 episodes or 30 some episodes or whatever it is, and basically he just like didn't fit their vibe, and like I guess the rumors are like they tried talking to him about like this is the kind of like what we want to do with the show, and he just like would just do stuff that wasn't what they were into. And I think there was one episode which was like the final straw where he kind of said like some not so cool things to one of the women on the show, like on the stream, and so they were like, Jesus Christ, and they were like, so they like
booted him.
They booted him, yeah. Okay. I think they left on good terms and they like gave that character a good send off like episodes later. But yeah, it's just we're not going to talk about like people have asked them many times and they just don't talk about it.
Okay.
It's like
so it's not like he's going to show up as some special guest on the show.
I mean, I imagine there's a possibility that you'll see a reference to him in the future. But in terms of like that character, they completely just like he doesn't exist in this universe.
Okay.
And like he's a character in their comics, like Vox Machina Origins, the books that you can buy. He's in there, but yeah. So, but essentially, he just doesn't exist anymore.
Okay. Yeah, I guess a party of 8 is pretty big. Yeah. So I think the 7 works. Yeah, let's see what else.
Which sucks because like we haven't seen any other Dragonborns on the show, and I think Dragonborns are cool. That's in the very few times I've played D&D, like I use a Dragonborn character. There is a future Dragonborn character that is pretty awesome that has like some major things that happen with him, played by Joe Manganiello from Magic Mike.
Oh, wow, we got a lot of connections here.
But you will probably won't see him for a while.
Okay. Is that still campaign 1?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I love the animation of this fucking show. I mean, even like the intro is so freaking beautiful, and just
Yeah, for
how
sure.
smooth, and it really sets a good tone. Uh, yeah, they're really inventive with some just little things like Vax is fighting. I don't know, one of the many things they fight. Something with tentacles. Oh, I think it's like that red monster with
Yeah, yeah.
tentacles, and
That's
it
supposed
comes.
to be a beholder, but they don't have the rights to beholder, so it's
Okay,
just like a weird tentacle
okay,
creature.
and he just like stabs a knife into it as it's like going
So
up, and he
cool.
just uses it like an elevator. I'm like, that's so cool. Do it again.
Yeah, they definitely take a lot from their action sequences, like take a lot of inspiration from like anime stuff, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and it definitely works to their effect. Um, I brought it up earlier, but episode 10, the Grog Kevdak fight where they all like
Mm-hmm.
jump in and just like start slaughtering people,
Yeah.
and then just like the death metal rages and just like rage, rage, and then just like explosions happen behind Percy and his eyes glow, how like
Yeah.
his glasses glow.
Mm-hmm.
That's just really cool. And just Vax, like I love his super speed ability that he has
Yeah.
now. Just like
Uh-huh.
him like jumping on a dude, like stabbing in the face, and then jumping off his shoulders and then like jawlining somebody with
Yeah.
a knife is just so awesome. The action sequences in the show are great. I think they really stepped it up for
Incredible.
this season.
For sure.
Uh, and I said it when I talked about it last week. The CGI stuff in season one, I didn't love.
Mm-hmm.
The Sphinx was definitely like the biggest distractor that episode because
Yeah.
it's like it looks so different.
Yeah.
But like the dragons, I thought worked
Great.
seamlessly
Yeah. I had no
for something that was
complaints.
also CGI.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think animation wise in that regard has definitely improved in season two.
Mm-hmm. And seeing
Uh,
a sphinx fight a dragon, it was just like, I didn't know I wanted to see this. This is so cool.
yeah, just all cool stuff, and I look forward to the next few seasons. Like so, spoiler for the end of the season, they fight a
Mm-hmm.
dragon and kill it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's Galen that does it, and in the campaign, Galen doesn't do that.
Oh.
But I think it was a nice. That's one of those nice changes where it's like, okay, because usually you have a barbarian, they do the most damage, they're
Yeah.
getting the most kills, or Vax gets the
And he
most
got to
kills.
kind of kill the blue dragon in season
Yeah.
one. So
So I think it's a good way to go. Like, okay, we're not going to have one guy who's just going to outshine everybody. Like Grog can't be the one who
yeah.
finishes everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So to have Scanlan like have a nice character moment, like get over his fear and kill a dragon in a really cool way,
Mm-hmm.
I thought was nice. Yeah.
I the idea of them like one, it's a little silly, gross thing, but like, oh, they go up the butt of a dragon.
Hmm.
But to have this sword that once you like set it in place, it doesn't move,
Hmm.
and this dragon's trying to fly off the ground, but he has this sharp thing in his gut that's gonna stab them. Like, that's a cool fucking idea.
Yep.
It's very inventive with all their little things.
Hmm.
Anybody you like more or less?
Well, I've said it before where Scanlan is like the fan favorite from the
Mm-hmm.
live stream because he was just the funniest and had some like really great like support moves that like
Mm-hmm.
just really saved everyone's asses. Where season one, I was like, I can't stand Scanlan. I think he's
Mm-hmm.
the worst one. But now I liked him a lot more. He's not my favorite, but I
Mm-hmm.
think if I have to pick a favorite, it's probably Pike.
Yeah.
Yeah, she hasn't really gotten like too many moments to like really shine, but I just like how like adorably nice she is,
Yeah.
and but also a really great
Yeah,
fighter.
willing to like rip off someone's head, no problem.
Yeah, and
But
I like her relationship with Grog, and like
mm-hmm.
she's just willing to like Grog like just throws her on his shoulders, and they just like hang out and stuff. Like
Yeah.
she just seems like the coolest person. I really like Pike,
Mm-hmm.
and I just also like. I'm not a religious person, but I always find religious characters who get powers from deities really
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, so I think
Is she a paladin?
no, she's a cleric.
Okay. What's the difference?
So
Because aren't they both just like warrior holy people?
yeah, paladins, I think, kind of like devote themselves to an ideal and they get their powers from a deity. And like there's different, it's a whole thing. They're very similar in terms of like their beliefs, but
Like, one's more devout than the other.
yeah, clerics are more about like, I think, mm, gathering knowledge and like to develop their skills. But there's like war domain clerics who are like very battle heavy. There's death domain clerics. They're kind of like your evil clerics. There's paladins who and you can also not you can be a paladin or a cleric and not really worship a god. Your like deity can be like the people.
Okay.
There's a ton of different stuff you can do, but they're very similar in terms of like style. But the paladin is more of a warrior, and Cleric is more of like, I'm a support character, but they can also like fuck shit up.
Okay.
So
Okay. Yeah, I think Pike is my least favorite character.
that's fair.
Yeah, she seems, I don't want to say overpowered, but it's just like anything ever goes wrong, she's there to heal him. And I know that's her job as a healer, but it's always either like, okay, you took this mortal wound, I got you, or it's, oh, I'm still a little weak and I can't do it, and it adds more drama. And I think that happens so often that, and because like Grog is also one of my least favorite, so the pairing of the two, it's like, okay, I can just lump those two and push them out of my mind, whereas I enjoy everybody else a bit more. I think the twins are probably my favorite, and I think they're my favorite in season one.
Yeah, I mean they're definitely like the coolest because I mean rogues are like the edgy ones who are like dark and brooding. So I get why especially now because he's got like wings and super speed. Like Vex is badass. But or Vax, sorry, Vax is badass.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just those two are probably my least favorite because I don't know. I think the other characters are more interesting. Like those two are like the leader warrior types.
Sure.
They get like a lot of cool action moments, but I don't really care about their characters all that much.
I will say I was getting real sick of every fucking episode Vax going like, well, at least we're together, at least we didn't get separated, don't ever leave me. Like, Jesus Christ, he seems like he's in love with his sister, and I'm just waiting for that sort of incest story to happen. So I'm glad they pair him off. It's like, oh, I guess Vex kind of likes Percy, and like there's a potential there, and Vax likes Keyleth. So yeah, hopefully they don't end up fucking, but it just seems
I
like
will
that.
say, spoiler alert, they don't.
Okay, good.
So,
good.
Really,
Not every fantasy thing needs some incest in it.
But it should. cut that. I was just kidding.
Yeah, I like Scanlan more, especially because they're calling him out on his bullshit.
And
like,
speaking of incest, he tries
to have sex with his own daughter. Yeah, which is we've seen before. Oh, what was something? Oh, it was a Glow that I'm thinking of that Mark Maron was trying to hit on. Ends up being his daughter. Like I knew it had to be that. It was either your actions with Vox Machina hurt my village, so I'm gonna get revenge, or it's gonna be something like that. But I called the joke where he's saying, "Oh, I loved your mom so much, and we had such a wonderful time," and she's just like, "Yeah, that's not my mom," and he doesn't even remember her. But I like that. Like, of course, you're gonna pair up the two gnomes. Gnomes?
Yeah, no, they're both gnomes.
They're both gnomes. It's weird. No dwarves in this world.
No, we've seen dwarves in the show.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It just seems
there's none on the team.
There's 3 half elves. Not even one of them could be like. Why isn't Keyleth just an elf? Why can't she just be a full elf? Why is 3 half elves and 2 gnomes?
Honestly, I thought.
No, I looked it up. I made sure. I wanted to know all their races and their classes.
I thought at least one of them was a full elf.
No,
and 3 half elves.
And even on that first episode of Critical Role, someone says like, "Aren't you a full elf?" And she's like, "No, I've been a half elf this whole time." And then of course the brother and sister have to be the same thing. That'd be kind of weird if one was a full elf and one wasn't.
Well, you can have half siblings.
Sure, but they wouldn't be twins then.
Touche.
So it's just weird. I'm surprised that there isn't like, okay, you make, Scanlan, he's a dwarf, and then she's a gnome, so you can still have 2 little people. And I think having a bard dwarf is very unique. But obviously they get to create their own characters, and who am I to say? I'm just surprised to get 3 half elves and only 1 human.
Yeah, 1 human, 3 half elves, a Goliath, and then 2 gnomes. Yeah. 7 people on the team, 4 races.
Yeah. Let's see, anything else?
Well, I don't know if you saw this, but their second campaign has been greenlit at Amazon. So they're going to have multiple shows running at the same time.
Didn't you mention that last?
Maybe I did. I don't remember. But
yeah, different characters, right?
Different characters, yeah. But I'll just say, I believe no one is the same in campaign 2. They're all different races, if I remember correctly. have to go back through my brain Rolodex.
Is it in the same world?
Oh yeah, all the seasons
okay.
exist in the same world, just
See, I assumed like campaign 2 were these same characters just doing another adventure. Nope. Okay. So campaign 1 has how many stories though? Didn't you say 5?
There's essentially like 5 major story arcs. Yeah.
Okay.
Over 115 episodes.
Okay.
So we're like, I think at like episode like 50 at this point, somewhere along there.
That's nuts.
Or maybe not that far, but yeah.
And they have 3 campaigns?
They are currently doing their 3rd campaign now. I mean, they've also done like a mini series. Essentially, it was like 7 episodes. That was like the origins of the world. And like, I think it was brought up in season 1. They talk about like the calamity. Like they break up their years. It's like, this is year 317 PC and it's post calamity.
Okay.
So they could do maybe some spin-off stuff, but the official like major campaigns has just been these 3.
Okay.
But yeah, season 2 has some cool, or campaign 2 has a lot of cool stuff too.
Cool.
So there's plenty of stuff you haven't seen yet that should be pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I guess that's enough Vox Machina talk.
Yeah, we talked about that for a while.
But
let's play some D&D, man.
I'd be the only problem is like you really have to dedicate time and you have to keep up with it and you have to have enough people to make it worthwhile. You know, you're not going to have just 2 people doing it.
I mean, we could do it just you and I. It was just not as fun.
Yeah. You
want it to be in the group.
And I feel like we're also at an age where we don't have that, especially with you said it earlier, and I'll cut this out if you want to, but you said like your kid is on the way. You've never said anything about you having a kid on this show.
Oh, I did?
Yeah.
Oops.
You want me to cut this out?
I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Steve's having a kid.
Woo!
In like 2 months.
Yeah, it's coming up. But yeah, well, we can cut all this. I played D&D last night, and it was a lot of fun. It was the first time I like ran a game in forever, just because like I've tried to get these motherfuckers to show up, and they're like the day of, they're like, sorry, I can't make it. It's like, bro,
I got all these snacks.
It's like I've been waiting to play this like one game that I've like written for like 6 months, and I was just like, if they don't show up tomorrow, I'm giving up on D&D. Like it's not worth it. It's like to spend all this time like working. I've spent all this money.
Yeah,
it's like I would much rather be a player. But the only way I can play is if I run it, which is fine, and I have a good time running it. But we played for 5 hours yesterday.
Wow.
It would have been 4. I was trying to do it from 4. We started at 4. I was going to go from 4 to 8. Let's keep it a nice 4 hours. Take a 2-hour break in the middle. Have some pizza, and I just had like one player like, here's the plot I've set up for you, and they're like, well, let me ask you 100 questions on like why this plot, like I can see this plot going bad. It's like, yeah, because that's how stories work. I'm not going to give you a storyline where it's like, yeah, go pick daisies out in the field. It's like, here's a mission. It sounds kind of shady. It's like, yeah, it sounds kind of shady. But this is the like,
yeah.
So it's just one of those things where like it went 5 hours because I was just like, bro, you gotta like, I had to cut stuff shorter just to like get the story over with so everyone could go home. I was like, it's 9:30. I'm tired. Like, let's get the fuck out of here. Not that it was like a negative experience, because I think everyone had, but like that last like 45 minutes, everyone's just kind of like tired and like, we're still playing. I was like, well, yeah, because this guy asked me 100 questions instead of just like, yeah, man, this is the mission. You want to go on it or not?
Yeah.
But anyway.
But they defeated the evil wizard or whatever at the end and won the day?
No. Well, so the mission was to like break into this castle, essentially steal this artifact that they were told only had sentimental value. It had to their knowledge, had no magical properties. But of course it did.
It did, of course.
And they were able to like get past the guards and like fight off this like animated suit of armor and this rug. These characters were all level 5, Ben. There was nothing stronger than like a level 2, essentially. Like this was supposed to be an easy fight.
Yeah. And you created all the characters for them, right?
No, they all created their own characters.
Oh, okay.
I just created the encounters.
Oh, I thought like because you had like, I have this idea in mind. I want these characters. You guys could pick who you want.
No.
Okay.
But I mean, I've played with these people before, and their characters have leveled up. And a rug a magic rug that like can smother you and like choke you out beat one of my characters. I was like, because they decided to like, well, us two are gonna hang back. You two go check out the room. It's like, that's not gonna do you any good, my guys.
Yeah.
And so this guy had to like fight this rug basically by himself, and he's getting his ass kicked. I was like, this was supposed to be easy, but they were able to keep him alive. But anyway, so they got the artifact back, gave the artifact to the person who like hired them, and then turned out to be like an evil wizard kind of thing, and brought back these characters long thought dead and another character's backstory. So it's just like, oh, your parents who you thought were dead from this ritual a long time ago, well, they're secretly alive and they might be the main villain of this campaign. So anyway, it was just like, I'm trying to get you to the like exciting plot twist at the end where we're supposed to finish. You guys just keep asking questions, but it was fun.
Yeah, it sounds fun.
Yeah. So, but it's a miracle to get these people to show up. So if you want to play some D&D, I'll play some D&D with you.
All right. Let's get to our two main topics. We have two part 3s today: Ant-Man 3 and Magic Mike 3.
I guess we'll just start with Magic Mike.
I think start with Magic Mike. I just watched it today. I didn't think I was going to be able to, but I woke up kind of early this morning and I had some time. So went and saw it. Actually, pretty full theater for me. Yeah, lots of chatty women, just cackling it up the whole time and oohing and awing. It wasn't as rowdy as it could have been, but it was definitely louder than most. It was definitely louder than the people watching Ant-Man.
Oh, I had the complete opposite experience.
Yeah? Okay. Were you the only one in Magic Mike?
No, I mean, I was in a smaller theater, and I think there was like...
I was 17?
No. Oh. Where was it? I don't remember. But anyway, there was probably like 10 other people in the theater with me or whatever, and it was quiet the entire time. I mean, I think it was all women. I might have been the only guy in there sitting by himself in the front.
Yeah.
But yeah, no one was like, ooh, like, give me a piece of that. And I was like,
nope, that was my theater. Yeah. I sit in the handicap area. Every seat behind me was full. And I was in a small theater, but there was no empty spots in between people. It was like they all came together. So Magic Mike. Oh no, I keep wanting to call it Magic Mike Save the Last Dance, but that's not it. It's Magic Mike's Last Dance. Yep. What'd you think? Compare it to the other ones, or on its own. How does this one stack up?
So I think this movie is definitely the worst of the three. But I want to say I think Magic Mike, it's interesting because no movie in this trilogy is the same. Yeah. Because the first one I feel like is definitely like trying to be an Oscar contending dramatic movie about like the lifestyle of male stripping and like good performances by like Matthew McConaughey and like, oh, what happens when I bring in this new guy into the fold and like this is the lifestyle. And just an interesting look at male stripping. And the second one is like, well, this is a buddy road trip comedy. And then this third one is just kind of like a romance film. Yeah. So it lacks the... I really love the second one. I like the first one. And I really love the second one because the second one was just a ton of fun. But this one, because his buddies weren't there, it just like kind of lacks some of the fun of like, I guess, the stripping lifestyle. Yeah. Because like he hires all these dudes who essentially are just attractive people who like don't have any lines.
Yeah, you don't learn anything about them.
It's all just essentially him and Salma Hayek. Yeah. And I like them both together. And I think that first scene where he like dances for her was great. I thought it was really effective. I was like, ladies, I get it. This is pretty impressive. But then the rest of the movie was just kind of like a slug of like, can I put on the show? And he's kind of still playing like a dumb guy. And I'm like, I kind of am tired of like the buff dumb guy stereotype because it ruined Thor. Yeah. Because it was just like, she's the first person to believe in me. It's like, well, I think that first girl believed in you to like get your store that you wanted to get. And then Amber Heard, I guess she didn't really believe in you. She was just like a cool chick you met on the road. But it's just like, all these dudes always, like, there's plenty of people who believed in you. It's just Selma Hayek was the first person who had, like, money?
Yeah, I mean, his buddies even like gave him money to help with his store, and he's saying, "Oh, I'll pay you back. I'll pay you back." Like, do they not believe in you? They're telling you it's cool that you don't have to pay him back. I think you have a pretty good circle of people who have believed in you.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, well, okay. She's the first person to believe in me enough to like I have an idea that she's willing to support as opposed to like my own idea who I have to like go through my friends and like go on all this money. It's like, oh, she's just like got it all. She's like, I met you yesterday and I'm willing to like put you as like the creative control of
Mm-hmm.
my show, or at least like co-creative control. Uh, and that was the other part that I thought was kind of weird. It's just like I can get that Selma Hayek had an experience that she had never had before. And it's like I can see where there's value in this. Like I can bring this to London. This can be an impressive show. It was just one of those things where it's just like I you just met this guy yesterday and you don't know if he's a murderer
Yeah.
or a psycho
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. Just like sure, I'll just make him in charge of this
Yeah.
theater and whatever. It
Give
just
him
seemed
all
like
these
kind of silly.
and it gives him all this responsibility and puts him in charge of a thing. He
And
says,
not even tell him until he got there.
yeah, and he doesn't even want to like dance anymore. Like he's kind of over it. It feels like he's just doing it just to make her happy because he likes her. But he says multiple times like, I don't want to dance in the show. This part of my life is over. But then why are you caring about her believing in you in this thing that you don't want to do anyways?
Mm-hmm.
So it feels a little underwritten. Like I said, all the other dancers are nobodies. They're faceless. They're just like haircuts and races, you know? But you would have one.
That's a good name for a band. Haircut and races.
You would have one that's like maybe a little younger who's hitting on her daughter, or someone that maybe she had or like is showing interest in her and she's reciprocating and making him jealous. Like there's things you can do with these people and you just don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So you focus on the relationship, but they seem to fall pretty madly in love pretty quick. And
Right.
I believed it to a point. I could see them like, hey, we're having a real good time. And because you have money, you can take me to do these things and I can help you with this thing. And we're just really vibing. But true love, I don't know if I really, really believed it.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought her butler guy, I thought he was going to be the villain. I was waiting for his heel turn, that he was the one contacting the authorities about all these changes that we're making, because she shits on him, not like says he's a bad person, but like interrupts him, doesn't care what he has to say. And she's kind of a shitty boss. And so I was waiting for him to fuck her over, but that doesn't happen. And then he's just part of the big group hug at the end,
Right.
and everything's A-okay. And then with the government stuff and all the oh, you can't have your stage built and da-da-da, it doesn't really affect anything. They're like, oh no, they're gonna shut us down if we do this thing. So let's just do this thing. Okay, there's no real consequences besides at the end of her going, I'm not gonna have any money. But since we don't see any of that,
Well,
who cares?
I wanted to talk about that because I thought the whole, and maybe I'm just misinterpreting the story here a little bit, but you know, it was a line from the trailer, and then in the movie, she was just like, when they're talking about like, well, what's this show about? She's like, what does he choose, or what does she choose, money or love? And she's like, why does she have to choose either? It's like, I thought that was going to be the thing. It's like, oh, Selma Hayek can have it all. She can have the love of her life and also have a successful like life and business. Like she can have money and all that stuff. And she's like, nope, I have to give my money away if I just want to be with Channing Tatum, which is fine. But once again, like they met a week ago.
Yeah.
And I can imagine like rich women or whatever can just be like, yeah, I can throw my life away. Like I have plenty of connections. I'll make more money, and I'll have this hot stud who I like. Or maybe I get tired of him and get another hot stud. I know 50 of them now. They're all on the show. Yeah, I just didn't care about their relationship. It worked much better for me than the Sandra Bullock relationship in The Lost City. But yeah, I just in terms of a storyline, I think this movie, that's where it was weakest. And also, I think the dancing was kind of weak.
Nothing really. It's like, oh, you can do these moves really well, but I've seen these for years. There was nothing that inventive inventive until you get to the last one, but even that is not inventive.
Well, we'll talk about it in a second. Because, well, first off, I thought it's like, okay, well, I like the idea of she wanted like professional dancers. Like, look at the way, like, she showed the YouTube video to Mike and was just like, look at this guy, look how he moves and speaks with his body, and just like, oh, isn't he so impressive? We should really get him for the show. And he's just kind of like, yeah, he seems cool. Like, if you want him, we'll get him. But then they do this montage where they're finding like street performers and all that stuff. But it's like, none of their street performances I thought really like brought anything to the show. And that guy who was doing these like fantastical dances, he didn't even have a solo dance.
No.
He was always just in group numbers, so he just kind of like blended into the background. Yeah. He was like just the guy with the longer hair. Yeah. So it's like,
that's the guy that would have also fallen for Salma Hayek, and she like, would start.
Channing Tatum's falling in love, and he thinks that she feels the same way, and then he opens the door. She's in bed with him or something like that. Or like he's the one they bring in, but he's like, oh, you're just some loser from Florida. I'm a professional dancer, and like that's
who are you? Yeah, there's no drama.
It's like, why are you telling me how to dance? Like I can outdance you, that kind of thing. But there was none of that. It was just like you kind of cut away from all these potential storylines just to focus on the romance, which I guess is fine. It's just the romance didn't really work for me.
Yeah. Because she is kind of annoying at times, where like she likes to bail on her projects, and she is gonna do it on this for better reasons than just kind of like maybe losing interest in the other ones. But she gets a little under my skin at times. I see why he likes her. She's very pretty, but I don't know, like the whole oh, you think I'm crazy? Oh, they're arguing about something. It's like, I didn't say you were crazy. She just jumps to that conclusion. And it seems like the stereotypical, like, oh, the fiery Latina woman who is going off the rails. And it's like, oh no, now you actually sound crazy because you're pulling this out of nowhere. So I liked her and I liked them together, but this relationship isn't like, wow, what a beautiful, wonderful thing.
Yeah, I think you also could have like played up the like poor guy versus rich girl angle of just like how he would interact with, and you get a little bit of it because you have that like one dinner scene or whatever.
But he's still charming enough.
Yeah, it's just I would have liked to have seen him in more scenarios where they're just like, so Mike, can you tell us about what your opinions on the socio-economical situation over in Palestine? And just be like, darn it, just like starts dancing. I don't know, just like I would have seen like to see him like kind of like one up some rich people,
or stumble on himself, and it makes Salma Hayek go like, oh, can I do this to my reputation? People just see him as just this dirty thing, and I'm above it. Am I willing to sacrifice my social standing to be with him?
Yeah. But none of that really came into play. So let's get to the show. I thought the intro to the show was kind of like fun, this magical unicorn that comes. It's like, you can have it all. And just a silly way. It's like, oh, we took the play that we were originally doing, and now we turned it into a strip show. I thought that was kind of fun. Then we have some like random dances here and there, but you don't stay on any of them long enough to really like care about them. Like that's what I liked about the second Magic Mike is every dancer got their moment to shine, and they all had distinct separate performances that like looked different and had different music to it, where all of this just felt like here's kind of like a hip-hop song and we're all just doing like dance numbers. There's just very like it. Also, this is a show about stripping. There's not really like nudity.
I mean, but that's one of the problems with all the Magic Mike movies is like, there's no dong. You would think they would show someone.
Yeah, no, but I guess what I'm saying is I feel like the other two, while yes, you're not getting dong, and I'm not saying I needed dong in this movie.
But they get down to...
But there is... I think the other movies are a lot more sexy. And more implied sort of... like when they take off their shirts or their pants or whatever, it really feels like you're getting to something, where this it just felt very PG-13.
This is a burlesque show, not a strip show.
Right. Which maybe was the point, but I think I needed some more like sexiness to a movie about sexy people trying to be sexy.
Yeah.
That being said, the final dance number I thought was effective.
Yes.
The 2 times Channing Tatum like does a dance, he's really fucking good.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a clever way, just like, you know what, we'll tell our love story at the end, and how I feel about you. I thought that was really sweet and clever. Did you know, and I'm sure you do, that the woman who does this rainy dance sequence is the same woman who does the rainy dance sequence with Rob McElhenney on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So this woman has made a career.
And maybe this is her specialty. Yeah. Like maybe this rain is dancing. Her thing. I'm good at sliding around and doing that sort of stuff. And I'm sure they saw that on Sunny and said, we got to do that. There's no way they came up with this on their own, hired her, and it just so happens that they're doing the same fucking thing.
Or they just had a similar idea and like, who can we get to do this? Oh, we'll just get a chick who has already done it. Yeah. So I thought that was kind of like a weird, funny thing.
I would say a sexier dance in this than in Sunny, where Sunny it's giving you emotion and
that dance not supposed to be sexy.
This one pretty raunchy at times.
Yeah, this one. They looked good. Yeah. Both of them were. Yeah. It's like, I get it, folks. This is what you paid the ticket for. You had to wait 2 hours to get to it. But I think the first two Magic Mike movies are superior. But this one, I think if you liked the other two, you'll like this one. It's a perfectly fine movie, but it's not going to like blow you away in terms of like, if you're looking for a film, it's not that. And if you're looking for a strip show, it's also not that. And that's kind of like the bummer of the whole thing is it's just kind of okay. So I'm going to give this a C+. Yeah.
I gave it a B- because I do think it's better than other movies like this.
Sure.
But comparing it to its predecessors, it is weaker than
which is a shame because I've liked the first two so much. I kind of wanted this franchise, especially the first one came out in 2012. This is a 10-year-old franchise. Yeah. I just kind of wanted to see Mike go out on a higher note.
Sure.
But I guess, he found love for the third time. And,
but human relationships don't work out.
Right.
He even said it. But this was supposed to be a streaming thing. It was going to be dumped on something, but they figured, fuck it. Put it on the same weekend as the Super Bowl. Let's, while all the men watch the men and their sweaty bodies collide, we'll let the women go watch the men with their sweaty bodies
collide. Yeah.
But yeah, I liked it. Couple of things. Weird trailers on this. I don't know if you had it, but it was like Guardians 65. It was all these like very male centric action stuff. There was a Red Band trailer for Cocaine Bear. There was a Shazam trailer.
Yeah, I think I had all those. Yeah.
Like this, there was not even like a comedy or romantic comedy or a period piece drama. There was nothing typical women movie stuff. It was all like dude stuff. I was very surprised of why they put those trailers on.
Yeah. I'd be interested to know like if there's a chart somewhere that shows like the demographics of people who saw Magic Mike because I like this movie. It surprised my wife that I like these movies. And I think they're perfectly acceptable for men. I think it's, if you're a dude who's just like, I'm not going to see that. It's just a bunch of dudes taking their clothes off. It's just like, well, you don't know what the movie's about, man. Yeah. Like, yeah, it happens.
Sure.
But these are good movies.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I like about the movie is none of the like men in it make it feel like, oh, this is so gay. Everyone's like, yeah, man, you're doing a good job. You're looking great. Everybody's just like very warm and encouraging of each other. And there's never really that part of just, this is fucking gay, man.
Yeah. And also I think, and I could be wrong because it's been years since I've watched 1 and 2. Consent is used in this movie.
Yeah.
Where I don't think it's used in the other two. I think once you go into, and this might be from like now that Mike is directing, it's from more of a professional standpoint. It's like, I'm not in the show, so me doing this showing to you is different.
Yeah.
Because I think like once you walk into a strip club or establishment, you're kind of like agreeing that people are going to touch you.
Yeah.
But like this one, like anytime they brought someone onto stage, they're like, is it okay if I do this? They always ask for permission before they like just grinded their junk on a woman, which was nice to see. And, it's good to always ask for consent.
Yeah, that's how the world has kind of come now. I mean, there was even that ad campaign of like, consent is sexy. Do you remember those? It was like 10 years ago. I mean, really, consent is like mandatory, really. That's what
you should
it
always
should
have
be.
it.
You shouldn't try to have to like make this thing a sexy thing, but it is just more of a status quo.
Yeah, but I think like in the real world, I can see that being like a lot of times that's not misconstrued. What am I trying to say? I'm going to make sure I say this right. Where like I think a lot of people, you meet a girl at the bar, you guys get drunk, and you're like, hey, you want to come back to my place? You don't ask like. I think a lot of people can go like, oh, I didn't ask if she wanted to. I just assumed because she came back to my place and we started making out.
She ripped her clothes off. We jumped into bed together. We knew we were going to do it.
We're like when it's your like job, it's like, oh, I can lose my job if this goes south. It's like you always have to go, or like there's lawsuits and like higher ups, like you're being paid by someone else. It's like I think that could. I don't know where I was going with this. I guess just like my idea was just like if the first two Magic Mikes didn't do that because they were like on the road, they're kind of like just doing this for fun. They might not ask for consent.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, we're in a professional setting. We're always asking for consent. Yeah. But either way, it was nice to see, is what I'm saying. Sure. Always ask for consent, folks.
I think the bus dance sequence was stupid.
Yeah.
Why did they have to do the swan thing? I know like she got rid of Swan Lake, but like they never said she was obsessed with Swan Lake. Well, like why did they have to do that?
Why? Well, they did say when they were trying to figure out a plan, I think they said like what kind of monster would like cancel Swan Lake, but they did a like background search on her and like her first show was Swan Lake, or like there was something along the lines of I thought she was like into Swan Lake, but she had to shut this show down for whatever reason because she grew up to become a bureaucrat. I think she wanted to be in that show.
Okay.
And maybe I'm just misremembering.
See, I always thought it was like she shut it down because she was doing her job.
Yeah.
And that even if she loves Swan Lake, I mean, I don't know. It seemed weird.
I mean, it's a silly concept of like, let's dance for this lady and she'll approve us. That's not how jobs work.
Sure.
But I was just disappointed. It's like, oh, here's a fun setting to do a dance. Like, because all of our dancing is pretty much like on stage.
Yeah.
So it's
poles
like,
and things to hang from.
So like they did some cool moves, but it only lasted like 20 seconds. Yeah. I was like, oh, this should have been like a 2-minute long sequence
of them all doing the same thing at the same time, and you have the one focus person, but don't dress them up like
because then
goose.
I don't even think there was music for the whole. Like it started where they were just like they all turned their head real quick, and she was like, "What's that about?" I think that was a missed opportunity to do some like really cool stuff on a bus, or like. She would go to multiple locations and they would all do like something cool for her and then do like a final performance, like kind of, this is what our show is. So she has like a whole, not in a whole day, but multiple situations where you could really show off these dancers and their specialties. Maybe that's where you bring in like, oh, that's why we hire these guys because they bring something different. But then you just cut to them back on stage doing the same old stuff we've seen.
Yeah, that really should have been like the drama between the guys is I'm professionally trained and this is how we dance. Like, well, I learned on the streets and this is how we dance. And how can we work together? Our styles are so different. And then they each like, oh, the guy who does ballet learns a little break dancing and the break dancing guy learns a little ballet. And oh, we could come together. But like I said, they're haircuts and races. There's just nothing to these guys.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. The last thing I'll say about this movie made me think, I need to work out. That's the lesson I took away from Magic Mike. Like, I thought that after seeing the Creed 3 trailer, I was just like, need to start working out. I'm
going to get Jonathan Majors big.
Yeah.
Physically impossible, but I'm going to try.
Whatever diet he's on, steroids maybe. I'll get on the steroids diet because
it's human growth hormones for sure. No one gets that big.
If there's a fourth Magic Mike movie, I want Jonathan Majors in it. Not because I want to see Jonathan Majors dance. I just think if you make him another villain, like make him the Kang in the Magic Mike universe, where it's like they're two competing dancers. Although I do like like you said, all the dudes are just nice to each other. Like there's no real combative stuff to the stripping world. I don't know. I think it'd be kind of fun to just see like Jonathan Majors and Channing Tatum like battle it out in like a stripping scenario. I think that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, make it like someone who's related to Jada Pinkett, from the last one. And it could be her brother, her something. I don't know. It could even be her son.
I mean, I'm sure they're probably like similar ages, and Jonathan Majors might even be older than Channing Tatum. I don't know. But it'd be kind of funny. It's like Jonathan Majors just comes in. It's like, you're old, Mike. You're out. I'm the new guy now. I'm illusionist Ian or something like that.
And he's like, and I came up with my name first when we were friends on the street and we were talking about growing up, wanting to be strippers. I made that name and you stole it from me.
Just take the same plot of Creed 3, but
exactly,
put it in I went to jail because I didn't ask for consent when I danced.
Yes.
Nothing happened, but I went to jail for it. And so now I'm back at it and I'm here to take your title, man. You're not taking my title. And they just have, it's like a worldwide event, pay-per-view, just Magic Mike and Jonathan Majors just strip battling each other.
I like it.
You know what?
Write it down.
Yeah, I don't know how to make it happen, but I'm pitching this movie to somebody.
You may have to wait like 10 years or something. So it's like, oh, we're bringing back Magic Mike. And,
it's part Old Man Logan, part Creed 3.
Illusionist Ian.
Or like he'll keep his name and then it'll just be Magic Mike Major Problems and
yeah, maybe his name is Mike too and now he's Major Mike. Like you may got the magic, but
oh god,
terrible ideas.
But I'd watch it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think that's...
what time are we at right now? I know we can cut a good amount of this because we talked about D&D too long. But...
An hour 27.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we only got one more thing to talk about, and I don't know how much I actually have to say about this. Mm-hmm. I didn't take notes or anything, so you'll have to forgive me. But Antman and the Wasp, Quantumania, the 31st Marvel movie... I can't believe it. 31. That's nuts. That's nuts. I just right out the bat. The problem with this movie is it's too big. Ha 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 ha. Shrinking Ant-Man Quantum Realm. Ha ha ha. The scope is too big. The first movie was a simple heist. Mm-hmm. And the second movie was pretty much just a simple heist and rescuing someone. And this is, we got to save the universe from this evil person who's trapped in this prison. And we also got to do like as many Star Wars cantina scenes as possible. And it's really big and it's all special effects. There's nothing to relate, like there's nothing realistic in it. So it's hard to tell. I know they're in the quantum realm, but are they like big for what they're doing? Everybody is kind of the same size. It doesn't feel like they're small in a small universe. They just feel like they're on an alien planet.
Yeah. You could have told me, if you didn't tell me they shrunk and you're just like, oh, they hung out with Guardians of the Galaxy and now they're on another planet, and you'd be like, oh yeah, because like everything in here looks like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep.
Yeah, so I agree with that. There's a lot going on in this movie, but the problem is not only that there's a lot going on, it's just you're introducing a lot going on that I have no reason to care about.
Yeah.
Like you have this whole resistance plot line, and can we talk about how much screen time Janetta or whatever her name was, the warrior chick? It's like, who is this chick? Is this? Why do I care? Like, why she get? If you told me she has more screen time than the Wasp, I'd believe you. Yeah. Or like more lines.
Yeah.
I'd believe you.
Absolutely.
Because for a movie called Ant-Man the Wasp was barely in this shit.
And they had to put her name in there because I think if they called it Ant-Man 3 Quantumania, people would be like, well, what the fuck? Why is the Wasp not on there? Mm-hmm. You kind of have to do it. But man, she really doesn't have shit to do.
Yeah. You team her up with her parents, which like, I guess they've been back in their life for a while now. They survived the blip. It's just like, that might have been a good like, we've lost so much time together. You can have some like daughter reconnecting with the mom kind of stuff, and the husband and wife, talking about all the time that they've missed together. It's like, I've been waiting for you for 30 years. But then it's just like, yeah, we both fucked people in our free time. We both had needs. My bad. It's like,
it's been 30 years.
I love you. A weird cameo from Bill Murray. But then the emotional core of this movie is Ant-Man and his daughter. Mm-hmm. And I didn't like the daughter. I didn't think she was very good in this.
No. Every time I looked at her, I thought she was a mix of Zoe Dutch and Kristen Stewart.
Okay, yeah.
She mashed those two together and you get this actress. And kind of messed up. They recast from the one that was in
so 3 different actors have played.
Yeah, it's like little one, get it. She's too young. You got to do it. So you got to age up. But then apparently they didn't even tell her that she got recast.
Yeah.
She just kind of heard it, and that's fucked up. If at least tell them it's fine if you want to recast. Who cares about that,
baby?
It's just rude. But this movie is just too big, and if you want it to be big, it needed to be longer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad it wasn't, but it needed to be. Or you cut out the resistance shit. You cut out the weird cantina stuff where they're drinking the goo and hearing everybody and Bill Murray and all that. Cut all that out.
Mm-hmm.
And you simplify this as the Ant-Man family and Kang.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess you could have MODOK, but we'll get to MODOK.
Okay.
So here's one of my major problems. Is this Kang a good guy or a bad guy? Because he's portrayed to be a bad guy, but if he's the one that the other Kangs sent here to imprison and he wants to go back and like burn them out of their timelines because they're bad news, doesn't that make him the good one? And maybe he is just a little crazy and going about it the wrong way. I don't know. And is this one actually dead? And of course you could kill him because we have so many other Kangs to use. I'm just kind of confused of motivation, and I'm sure by the end of this phase it'll all make sense. But just for this, it felt like oh yeah, he's the real big bad guy. But when you think about what he's trying to do, he doesn't seem like the bad guy. Because if he is the bad guy and the other ones are the good guys, that can't be it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just need more information because I'm not a Kang expert. So first off, what I'll say is I think Jonathan Majors is great.
Yeah, great.
As we established in my Magic Mike 4 pitch just a minute ago.
I haven't seen him bad in anything.
Yeah, and I think in this, he's good. There's moments that I think he's just like, oh, this Kang is cool. Like, it's a simple moment, but it's a moment I really liked where he's like sitting on his throne in his cool position and his like faceless goon show up and bring the person. And then there's just this slight like musical note. And then he just like moves his fingers just enough to go like, all right, go. Okay. And it just seems so powerful. And I was like, that's cool. Like, that's the kind of, like, they're so scared of him. He just moves his fingers and you're just like, all right, let's get the fuck out of here kind of thing. But yeah, so he's this dude who travels different timelines and is just like this scary warlord who just wants to conquer timelines or maybe kill the Kangs or maybe not kill the Kangs or whatever his goal is.
Seemed like he wanted to kill the Kangs.
I mean, I'm sure he wants to kill them now because he got exiled to the quantum realm. But my whole thing is, it just seems weird that this guy who's one of the most powerful beings supposedly the smartest person ever from the year 3, descendant of Reed Richards, is able to invent this crazy stuff. Is like, he's got technology we've never seen before. Lost technology we see in Wakanda. Floating ships that shoot beams.
He has technology we can't even imagine. Of course, we created Pym particles, the thing he needs to be able to get out of here, but he can't invent it himself.
Yeah, he can't invent Pym particles. Okay, cool. It's like all of his like ships and soldiers, and it's like we've seen these guys a billion times. So he doesn't seem all that different. And then Ant-Man beat him of all the Avengers. Ant-Man beat him. Yep. Because okay, well, first off, the ants show up and they're able to like overwhelm his like force field technology or whatever and carry him away. It's like, okay, so ants killed this powerful being, but he wasn't dead. And then he came back and then he had a fist fight. Yep. So it's like, oh, so Kang is literally just a dude. Just a dude. His technology is what makes him strong, and his brain, I guess. Yeah. But your first real, I mean, I guess technically the first real introduction is Loki.
Sure, but that was a totally different one, and he was the reasonable one.
Yeah, But he was killed with a knife. So I guess maybe they just established that from the get-go. Yeah. But then here's a second one, and he's dead from just a human. At least Loki was, a demigod. Yeah. So it just seems...
But it's not like Ant-Man broke his neck. He did, use science of Pym particles to shrink and grow him at the same time. I'm not sure exactly what happened.
Yeah, and then we just get it just seems weird that, I like that he was introduced in this movie, and I just wish he seemed as menacing as they tried to make him out to be. I think Jonathan Majors carried him like a Kang should be, but in terms of his abilities and how he like ruled. I never felt like the fear. Like I thought this movie should just been like real depressing. Like this should have been another Infinity War kind of scenario where it's just like the heroes are trying and they fail, and Kang gets out and really establishes like, oh, Kang can wipe out. He can mass genocide people all the time. Like really make him scary. But he just kind of gets defeated relatively easy because everyone's just like, let's all band together because some chick made a speech and they win. It was like Jonathan Major's great. Kang didn't care about.
Yeah, the mid credit scene when we get to see like Egyptian Kang and even more futuristic Kang and I think Chinese Kang. I mean, he had like a weird kind of Fu Manchu mustache.
Yeah, whatever it is.
But I think that scene was more interesting than the entire movie. Just seeing that we're going to see this really good actor play this role in a lot of different ways. It's not everyone is just the same. We've already seen, the nice guy one, the mean guy one, and then we're having all these throughout time. And I think that's really fun. And I can't wait to see that. Everything else in the movie, take it or leave it.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. I mean, just to have Jonathan Majors go on like do an acting showcase with Kang, cool. I'm all for it. But real quick, as I was saying before, it was just like I wasn't as afraid of Kang as I should be. He said, "You know how many Avengers I've killed?
Yeah,
but you can't kill Ant-Man.
Ant-Man, yeah,
Ant-Man.
I know." And it's like if they said something about how he's powerless here, his technology doesn't work, he is just a man now, and he has to use his brain to help him get out. Okay, Ant-Man could beat him up. He could turn into a much bigger guy and just chuck him if he wanted to. But he has his powers, and he still gets defeated. So I think they needed to kill Ant-Man in this. Ant-Man needed to sacrifice himself. The only way he could get his family through the portal, but he has to stay behind.
We got the daughter. We got the Wasp.
Yeah, you already have two shrinky, growy people. You don't need him. And Paul Rudd's in his 50s, and I'm sure he doesn't want to do this forever. This would have been a really good upping the stakes for the next phase. Like, we're willing to kill off an Avenger for this.
I thought at least Michelle Pfeiffer and
Michael Douglas.
At least one of those would have died.
Sure.
But the entire family survives, and the Resistance wins, and Kang, quote unquote, is defeated. And it was just like, okay, well, this was a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it starts setting up the future of the series and showing Kang as the big bad, but I think Loki introduced him in a more interesting and better way. And it's like, what the fuck's this guy about? I just think if you wanted to bring in Kang and you wanted him to be on par with Thanos, you really needed to just like knock it out of the park and like really like when you see that like quick flashback of like Kang like conquering worlds or whatever, you don't really see anything.
No.
You should have just seen like how he does it. You should have like I really wanted to be afraid of Kang, and it just didn't really do anything for me, unfortunately. Yeah, so
let's pitch. Let's try to fix this movie a little bit.
Okay. One last thing.
Okay, cool.
And then we can pitch.
MODOK looked ugly as shit.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about MODOK. One, MODOK looked ridiculous. Didn't care for MODOK, especially his like mini redemption arc at the end. What the fuck was that?
I thought it was funny. I liked that he was going like, well, at least I got to die an Avenger. And they're like, yeah, bud.
Sure, man.
And he is such a stupid, ugly character in all forms. You can't make MODOK cool. I think
get him in and get him out.
It was smart to just use him up, use him for dumb comedy, make fun of this fucking dork, and kill him.
Okay, fair enough.
I think that was perfectly fine.
The only thing I want to mention is if you told me, and I didn't count, and I wish I did. I'm sure it's probably going to be brought up in a pitch meeting or whatever on YouTube. One, the constant use of quantum, which is fine because it's called Quantumania. You know what's going to happen, and you have to do exposition. But there must have been 6 scenes. There's probably less, but I'm going to say 6 scenes of a character, one of our main characters, walking with 2 guards and then kicking one in the shin and knocking one. It's like that happened like 5 times, or like they're walking and they'll drop a pin particle or something. You guys are constantly not searching the people who have like advanced technology if they have weapons or whatever.
It's really easy.
It's like they even let them have the suits in jail. It's like, what is happening?
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, we don't really know how to write ourselves out of this one, so we'll just like we'll just have them like know kung fu and
Yeah,
have and just have their weapons anyway.
Yep, ducks it, hits a guy, gets out of the situation. Simple enough.
I honestly think there might have been 6 scenes of just like constantly like, oh, we caught you. Oh, you got away. We caught you again. Oh, they kicked my same 2 guards again.
Yeah.
It was just like, it just seemed like real lazy writing.
And there's also probably about 6 scenes of them going like, Mom, what is going on? Like, I'll tell you later. I don't have time for this. I'll explain everything later. And
you have nothing but time.
Like, fucking stop everything and said that the moment they got into the quantum realm, she should have been, okay, here's the deal. Here's what's up. And so, yeah, this is how I think the movie, I don't know if it's better, because I'm dog shit at this stuff, but I like doing it. So you make it that Cassie is communicating with the quantum realm. She's just doing it on her own. Either it's a text thing, somehow she is communicating to someone. It could be Kang, it could be MODOK. I don't really care who. But she's doing this behind Grandma's back. Even though that's funny, she calls her Grandma. But Scott Lang is not married to the Wasp. So it's not her grandma. That's just his dad's girlfriend's mom.
Does she call her grandma?
I think she does. I think at one point she calls her grandma.
Yeah, I did. Okay.
So she's doing it behind her back. She's doing it behind everyone's back because they've all said like, yeah, like every daughter of a superhero, you're also a genius and you're going to go into the same field.
Okay. I
forgot
about that, but that drove me insane.
Yeah.
Not that
because like in the future, Tony Stark's daughter is going to take up. After,
for sure, but I can.
But that's fine. He's a genius.
Yeah,
Scott Lang is not.
Scott Lang is very smart, but he's like just engineer smart.
Yeah, he's clever.
Like Hank Pym, genius.
Sure.
His wife, they met in the same circles. So, genius.
Hope Van Dyne, also genius. Makes sense.
Hope Van Dyne, raised by 2 geniuses, should be very smart.
Yeah.
But this girl who is 16, 18, whatever her age is, her explanation on like why she could build this advanced thing to communicate with the quantum realm is, oh, well, while you were gone, I had 5 years to just research. I feel like it would take you 5 years just to figure out what the fuck quantum mechanics were. Like, you have to go to college for like 8 years, and I mean, she could just naturally be a genius, but it was never established like, oh yeah, my daughter's super smart. She's like, oh no, I spent my free time, instead of growing up and like having a childhood life, just learning quantum mechanics.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like, come on, guys.
And I don't think she calls Michelle Pfeiffer grandma. I think she says, I spent years reading grandpa's notebooks. And she was talking about Michael Douglas. Because that's how she learned everything. She read his notebooks.
Yeah.
But was it in the time where they were blipped? And if so, did she even know these people really? Because she was just a little kid when she would have met them. 5 years past, she's grown up. In those 5 years, she was reading the notebooks. And if it's after the blip, she like no one else was teaching her. She was just self-taught by reading notebooks. It's a real stupid, lazy writing. So it doesn't even have to be Cassie. It could be someone else. It could be maybe Michelle Pfeiffer is trying to contact someone in there and they're like, why you were there for 30 years. Why you keep trying to communicate? And then she confesses like, I wasn't alone when I was down there. There was a man and we had this life for the last few years. And then when you came to save me, I had to abandon him because I knew this may be my only chance of getting out and I couldn't go back for him. So I'm trying to make amends. I want to help him get out. She doesn't know he's a bad dude. They were just trying to, survive together. So regardless of who's talking, you do the thing and they get sucked in and you instantly meet Kang and he's just a dude and Michelle Pfeiffer's happy to see him and welcoming back. And it's like, wow, so much time has passed. And maybe he was like a little kid when Michelle Pfeiffer's there because, time
right. It's different.
Even though Michelle Pfeiffer didn't age in sort of any extreme way. She was there for 30 years. She aged 30 years. Even though Scott Lang went in for 5 hours and came out and it was 5 years difference. Whatever. Quantum. So like maybe he was a little boy or younger and it's like, oh, look at you, King. You real grew up. Aren't you sexy? And he says like, look what I've done in the time that you have gone. You taught me a lot of things while you're here. And maybe he has repaired his ship, but he is still stuck there because he doesn't know how to do the Pym particle stuff. He doesn't know how to get out of quantum realm. He can make machines, and you could even have MODOK there. Maybe even MODOK is pretending to be like the big bad, and Kang is like his servant. And so the whole time, Kang is a good guy through this whole movie. But it's all just like a farce because he's trying to get them to come to him so he could get enough Pym particles so he can get out. And then by the end, after they defeated MODOK and whatever his big plan is, he understands like, oh, you guys get through the portal. It's fine. You can leave me behind. And they get through. And then he opens his hands and he has a handful of those little discs, big smile on his face because, maybe he needs it to bring his whole ship back. It's not just him coming back. He needs to bring everything with him, whatever it is.
And then even had a thing where it was Kang going like, oh yeah, there's versions of me that are bad. Like I have this machine that travels between timelines. Like, I've met other versions of me. I'm the nice one though. And
these are like, bad dudes.
And they banished me here because I tried to stop them from like, they wanted to do mass genocide and they wanted to conquer all the timelines. And it's like, but not me, not this guy. But really, I am the one that's doing that. And it's like,
it's simple and obvious, and you may see through it from the get-go, but I think it's a more interesting movie than him just having this army of faceless robots and this society that's been there forever. Like, were they all born down there? Weird laser face, globby guy, cheaty. Like, if this is timeline prison, if this is like a TVA, like the opposite of the TVA or something, and the big bads of the multiverse, this is where they dump all their problem makers, sure, but it seems like this is supposed to be kind of where they live, but the variety of creatures is so vast that it does feel like space. And so you just don't understand the quantum world. And every other time we've seen the quantum realm, we never saw any other people. It was just weird shapes and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen like microscopic, like those little manatee.
They're water bears.
Water bears, yeah. Like we've seen like those kind of things. Like I can.
Yeah, I wanted to see some people ride in a water bear in this. I really did.
But I like that they even kind of like call themselves out because, this is just like it's comic books, it's movies. Like none of this shit actually. Like, who cares? It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. It's like, why is Bill Murray here? It's like, are you human? He's like, maybe. Kind of.
Yeah.
Sure. And he like, that's just kind of like how he says it. It's just like, maybe.
Yeah.
What's human? It's like, but he is one. Yeah.
You were sleeping with Michelle Pfeiffer, so your genitals must match up, so you must be human-esque.
Cheaty's human-esque, but he's just a human who has a weird...
he could read your minds, which doesn't really come into play besides being like weird, gross jokes of like, stop thinking about that. No, really, stop thinking about that. Which can be a funny joke, but then they don't really use his power for anything, so why is he there?
They do use his power for one thing at the end. I can't remember what, but it was like, oh, that's what it was. It was they got to a guard and they're like, give us the code. He's like, I ain't giving you nothing. It's like, code 3456. And like, damn it. Yeah. And so like his power did come into play for that one joke.
Cool. Wow, you couldn't have like Ant-Man shrink real small, get inside the circuitry and work some things and open the door? No, let's create a character that has psychic powers for a joke. Yeah, it's
or at least like you have Kang. He's fighting Ant-Man. They're both like at a stalemate, and then Kang, or no, that's how you fucking do it. Is you have this character that's like, I'm the good Kang, I'm in it, and then you have Cheaty. We're just gonna keep going. Read his mind, and then Cheaty's like, oh shit, and then Kang stabs him, and you're like, oh wait, this is how you know. And now
that's fine.
Yeah,
perfectly fine. And when Kang and Ant-Man are fighting, this is a real big Ant-Man. I think this is probably the biggest he's gotten, even though he's in the quantum realm.
Sure.
Relative to everything, this is probably the biggest he's ever been. And he just kind of uses it to like stop the rings and stop some turrets, but let's get Kang, tiny little Kang, fucking up big Ant-Man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
have that sort of reverse fight, because it's usually, oh, Superman is trying to fight the big kaiju monster and you got to root for the little guy. Well, what if the hero is the big one, but the tiny little gnat-sized person is really getting the upper
Mm-hmm.
hand? That's a nice, something different that we haven't seen before. But nah,
Nah.
nah.
So yeah, I'm gonna say this movie is a C for me.
Oh,
Um.
I give this one a D plus.
Oh,
This
okay.
is this is bottom barrel Marvel. This isn't shit like Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
Like that's like offensively bad. This is just so generic and
Yes.
uninteresting and uninspired. And to be the kickoff of the next phase, it's like, oh, we're just doing more of the same
Yeah.
boring
That's
shit.
why it's a C for me. It's just it has enough stuff in it that I can at least appreciate, or I go like, it's a perfectly watchable, fine movie, especially if you're already into the Marvel universe. But it doesn't do anything to add to the genre or the grander storyline or anything like that. It's just like, here's the introduction of this super interesting, cool villain who's going to be the crux of the whole next
Mm-hmm.
phase, but he doesn't seem that bad
And
or
this
that
is
dangerous.
and this one's dead. And if this movie doesn't do well and people don't see it, and if people don't watch Loki and he's this big important thing later, I could see it being confusing. Whereas with Thanos, we got small introductions little by little. First, it was just a smile, then it was a fine, I'll do it myself. Then he's actually in a movie and you build up to it. Where this is like, hey, here is your villain. Hope you like him because he's going to be around until, Secret Wars, and then the next villain will be revealed. So yeah, this is kind of a risky one, and I think it's annoying to say it's risky because it's so plain. It's just so generic
Mm-hmm.
that it's not risky. Like they're taking risks in it for the wrong thing when they should have been taking risks and really doing a game changing sort of thing. That's why Ant-Man needed to die. He's not as important
We
as
just
they
need
think.
anyone to die.
Anyone to die.
It's like, well, Tony Stark died. It's like,
Like,
yeah,
yeah,
but you spent 10 years getting Tony Stark
yeah.
to die.
Yeah, and his death was like earned. Kill someone and make it tragic. Cassie has fucked up and sent her whole family to the quantum realm, and it got her dad killed, even though like she missed out all these years of his life, and because of her actions, got him killed. Now there's some stakes, and now there's some character to this character, and the trailers are really misleading. I thought like because King kind of says, if you help me do this thing, I can send you back in time and you can relive all the time you missed with your
Mm-hmm.
daughter. That's not even an offer in this. He doesn't even say that, does he?
Yeah.
Like that he could send him back in time? I don't remember him saying anything like
Yeah,
that.
when she helped him build the sphere thing or whatever, and then she like touches the machine and she realizes, who he is or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like, yeah,
Well, he says that to her, but he doesn't say it to Ant-Man. And I think maybe
I'm sorry.
they
I
fucked with
misheard
the
you.
audio,
Gotcha,
and
gotcha,
and
gotcha.
it seemed like, oh yeah, because I guess it's like she missed out time with her daughter and he missed out time with her daughter. But yeah, I mean, here's hope. I mean, I think Guardians 3 is going to be amazing. There's a very small chance that it's going to be bad, and that could be the thing that helps. Maybe that should have been the opener for this phase, because you start off strong, get everybody hyped for Marvel again, because this is more of like a wet fart. And after what's after Guardians? Is it the
uh,
Marvels?
I believe so, even though that was just pushed back again.
Yeah, but it was only like to November.
Yeah. So it's Guardians in May, the Marvels in November.
Okay, and I think we get Loki 2 and Secret Wars in between that, or
Uh,
not Secret Invasion.
yes, correct.
Yeah. Which is, I'm glad to hear that they have slowed down the TV show stuff. Like they're only going to have about 2 shows a year, because last year was really a glut of television.
Yeah. Well, let's just take a moment to go over real quick, because we'll probably do this for every time we talk about a Marvel movie. So I've been uh, more negative than you towards Marvel stuff,
Yeah.
even though we pretty much agreed on Thor: Love and Thunder,
Yeah.
and a lot of our stuff we're like, in the same sort of wheelhouse, but it's like you just like it more than
I like it more, and I'm willing to stick with it. Where you're willing to just cut any sort of dead thing off your body, and I'm like, it's not festering that much.
The only reason I think I'm still watching Marvel movies is just to talk to you and just be part of the cultural zeitgeist. Because
don't be that guy that bails on it, man. You'd be like,
Yeah.
I was there for all the phases.
like I don't want to. Part of me is like I don't want to be the old guy who just seems like I'm not watching a thing because it's what the young people are doing. But at the same time, I don't know. So phase 4, Black Widow is what we opened with. Mostly panned.
Yeah, but perfectly fine. Just came out in the wrong year.
Shang-Chi, everyone seemed to pretty much like that. Didn't land the third act all that well.
Yeah.
Eternals, first rotten movie, I think, of the MCU.
And Ant-Man is being the second rotten, which is weird that Thor Love and Thunder is not rotten and this is. That's wrong.
That's absurd. But in my opinion, Eternals, the best movie that's come out of these so far, and I stand behind that.
Give it a few years. People will come around to Eternals eventually.
I can accept Spider-Man No Way Home being better than the Eternals. I totally get that.
Yeah.
So
that's nostalgia.
So those two, no problems with. Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, missed opportunity.
Yeah.
Thor Love and Thunder.
Fine enough, though. I think it fits more with everything else we've seen and isn't a huge stinker. It's just, not as good as it could be.
Yeah. It's just isn't good enough for me.
I know, yeah, I should have been saying that.
So most of these movies that are just it's like, yeah, you can watch them, but that doesn't mean I want to.
It's not a good defense.
Yeah. So that movie's Thor Love and Thunder, hot dog shit. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, fine. Now we have Antman and the Wasp, at best.
I would go, I'd give it a little fart sound.
So I think Guardians 3, I expect will be good, but I was also blown away by the trailer of Wakanda Forever. That was fun. I've been blown away, but they know how to market. They do really good trailers.
Oh, yeah.
And the movies just don't turn out that well. But I liked Guardians Galaxy Volume 1. Great film.
Yeah.
Volume 2, really enjoyable. So I hope, especially with James Gunn directing it, Guardians 3 will just end perfectly, and then we'll just never have to talk about Guardians again. Other than cameos from Chris Pratt and whatever.
I'm sure we'll get, because they said like at the end of Guardians 2 how Sylvester Stallone had his team with the, what's her name from everything
Michelle Yeoh.
Michelle Yeoh and Miley Cyrus, and she was the robot. She was the voice of the
really
thing.
I forgot about that.
That we may get like the new Guardians, or maybe called the old Guardians, and so we'll still get those space adventures, but it'll be with just different people. I hope not.
I don't give a fuck.
I don't want them to be called the Guardians of the Galaxy.
So yeah, then we have the Marvels, which I expect everyone's gonna hate because
women, and women are bad, and there's 2 that are people of color. Yuck.
Then we have Captain America: The New World in 2024, which I love the Captain America films, but now it's a totally different Captain America.
Yeah. But I like Sam.
I like Sam too, and I like Bucky, and I mostly enjoyed Falcon and Winter Soldier. Sorry, it took me a second. But I can just...
This one has more potential than I'd say Marvel's does.
Sure.
Well, Marvel's has potential to do crazy, weird space stuff. This is like, let's get back to that really great character that we love. And, hopefully he could hold a candle to OG Cap. So I'm looking forward to this Captain America than
I need
Marvel's.
to see a trailer for any of these movies to really get... Thunderbolts, I don't give a fuck about Thunderbolts at all.
I'm all about that one.
Blade, I've been waiting for Blade this entire time.
It ain't happening.
That being said,
it ain't happening.
A PG-13 Blade?
Nah. He's going to walk. They're going to lose a director again. It's going to get pushed back. And Mahershala Ali is going to say, fuck this.
And, I mean, there's still plenty of time for it to be pushed back or, recast or whatever. But this is a September release. Make Blade an October release. That's a Halloween movie.
Well, yeah.
Not necessarily to watch. Don't release it on Halloween.
On Halloween,
but like in October, I think
it's enough time in advance that hopefully it will have good numbers for like 3 weeks because it's a big Marvel thing, and then Halloween comes around.
Okay, so it's in September right now because they have Deadpool in November.
Okay,
So October, they don't want to
separate them. Yeah,
they don't want them too close.
Come on, Deadpool's a February thing. That's whatever.
So yeah, there's only 3 Marvel movies in 2023, and then 4 next year. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so Deadpool 3, and then.
Did you watch Nando's Deadpool 3?
I've been meaning to. I just haven't watched it yet.
It's really out there in meta, but it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And speaking of like Ant-Man 3, he had a pitch for a part 3. It was called Ant-Man, the Wasp, and the Ant-Man, and it was about there's another guy, Eric O'Grady, who like steals the Ant-Man suit, and he's kind of like an asshole. He shrinks himself and sits on women's shower heads to watch them. He's kind of he's a dirtbag. And so it was a story about that. And it kind of like took place during Captain America Winter Soldier when like the helicarrier, not that the Triskelion is being attacked. Like he's able to steal a suit at that time. It's an older video of his, but it's really good. And it's exactly what this needed to be, a movie about a heist and shrinky people. And that's the fun thing of seeing Ant-Man next to a Coke can or a Lego, but when he's next to like Globulus, the Glinglong, like I don't know what that is. And it's like
yeah. And you know what? We're just gonna go back to, or I guess we're still talking about Ant-Man.
Never saw Marvel stuff.
So yeah, that like you have this character who you drink his goo and then you can understand alien languages, which is fine.
Which they did with the fish in Guardians, and
that's cool, whatever. And then you have a scene where he gets shot a bunch, and like, okay, so there's one like cute, adorable character who's like Michael Cera inside Jello or whatever, and then he gets shot a bunch. You're like, oh wow, like he died. That would have been a nice thing. And then it's like, no, even he doesn't die.
Yeah,
no one dies in this movie from the guy who's known for killing Avengers.
Yeah.
And it's absurd.
That would have been a nice thing to see when he says like, oh, are you the one with the hammer? I can't quite remember. When you show him in a different timeline, let's see a different Thor. Let's see a different Black Panther.
Yeah. Or even if it's the same actors, like I would love it if you just saw Kang just like really, like you just have one scene where, it's kind of like Endgame, where it's just like Avengers assemble, the whole team's there, and then Kang single-handedly kills them like they were nothing.
Yeah.
Like give me that scene to really like set the stage of fear. It's like, this is why you fear this guy.
Yeah.
And
Hulk's barreling down on him and he puts one laser through his head and he's done.
Yeah, he does a hand motion thing and he just dissipates.
Sends him into the sun.
Yeah, anything. I just wasted opportunity. And like, but back to what you were saying, it's like it should be a heist with shrinky people. How have we not had a scene, and maybe I'm just not remembering, how have we not have a scene where Ant-Man has Godzilla somebody, where in terms of just like it's giant Ant-Man versus another giant dude?
Yeah.
How come we haven't seen that yet?
Because there's no other shrinky, growy people.
Right. So it's like that would have been fun. It's like if you do Ant-Man versus Ant-Man. Ant-Man versus Ant-Man, which I know we've always complained about. Like the first movie is always just like it's your powers, but with a bad guy. It's like, yeah, that's what Yellow Jacket was essentially. Sure. It's like, but you have that guy, and it's like, okay, well now we're doing everything big. It's like, yeah, he stole the suit, he's being small, but now he's like super large and he's attacking the city. And so you have that could be a fun comedy thing of like, oh, it's a Godzilla fight with 2 dudes.
Yeah.
And
you start the fight like them really small, and you start getting them bigger and bigger. So you have them relative size. Like imagine 2 Ant-Man fighting, but they're the size of toddlers in your living room. That would still be really funny to see. Then you get the normal size. Then they're a little bigger. Like they keep trying to one up each other. And he's telling them, don't go any bigger, man. You are going to fucking die. And he's just like, you're not going to tell me what to do. And gets even bigger and has an aneurysm, something. Yeah. But yeah, a big kaiju fight between Ant-Man.
Or like, even if you did a cool thing where like they had like, because they can like shoot particles. It's like, what if they were doing a fight where like they're running at each other and they're shooting, and like he goes to punch him, but then he gets small, and then he goes to punch him, and as he's uppercutting him, the guy he punches like hits a thing, and then he grows big, and now he's like getting launched through a building. Like they're constantly like shrinking and growing, and like having this really interesting visually stunning fight where they're like jumping through buildings but also growing large and like running on rooftops but then shrinking down to like go through a pipe and stuff. And they're like, you just have this like really crazy fight. Maybe they have a fight in a Lego city that someone's built in like
Well, I
their
mean, they
living
kind
room.
of did that train set with Cassie's
Yeah, but
bedroom. It'd be a little similar.
Yeah, it's just like, but I just mean like that could be a fun thing. It's like you see them fight in a city, but then it's like, oh, that's just foreshadowing for when they grow big.
Sure.
And or I don't know.
All we ever see is just like him get small and then he gets big and punches a dude, then gets small again, and then gets big and punches a dude, and like, it was more creative in the first one when you see him like running on the barrel of the gun. This is just, I don't know. Can you think of like a really interesting shrink part? I don't think he like shrinks at all.
And I'm sure it's another thing of just like budget and all that kind of stuff. But like, but I mean, the whole movie was CG.
Movie was CG.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear that.
True. I took it back immediately. But yeah, I just think you didn't have to do some sort of Guardians of the Galaxy space adventure in the quantum realm. It should have just been like set in the real world with, I don't know,
smaller stakes,
but you can still have a massive battle.
Yeah,
just do it Godzilla style, and we haven't seen that yet.
I don't think there's any of the. Well, maybe that's not true. The standalone movies, it's fine for them to reference and set up things, but you should be able to kind of watch them as a trilogy on your own. You can watch Ant-Man 1 and 2 back to back and not be that confused. Maybe the post-credit scene doesn't make a lot of sense if you then watch Ant-Man 3 and they're just back.
Yeah.
But you throw this third one in, totally different. The 3 Captain America movies kind of work. I mean, Civil War gets a little weird at the end if you don't know who these characters are. You know, Iron Man, those work. Thor doesn't work without context of everything else. The Guardians do work. I mean, maybe not this one, because it'll be like, why is Gamora so weird now? Why does she hate him?
Right.
But it would be nice if this Ant-Man movie was just, once again, another heist thing. It's simple. It's on Earth. You could go to the quantum realm for a minute or whatever, but don't take place the whole time. So you could just have this nice trilogy of movies. And no, we can't do that anymore.
Yeah, all these movies have to not only set up another thing, but also have to be connected or make reference to things in some other way, where it's like, you really don't need to do that. You can have them be standalone adventures where it's just the hero doing a thing, and then as a post-credit sequence, you can just go like, okay, well, here's where this character is going to go next time, or whatever, without it being like, oh, well, remember the blip happened and that's what caused this. Like, yeah, there's reasons for those things to explain what happens in this movie, but like when all the movies have to be connected in another way, I guess from like maybe a marketing and like, in order to get you to see this, it has to be connected to this and promise this, but then it's not a movie. It's just, you're just doing marketing for 2 hours. And that's what I think is hurting all these movies the most.
Yes. And it's very similar to how comic books are. There are plenty of times I'd be reading something and it says continued in Cable issue 42. I'm like, I don't read Cable. Now I have to go pick up the Cable issue because for some reason he shows up in this story, and then it'll go back to the regular thing. And so many comics have this is a reference to, and it'll tell you what issue of what. And you find yourself ending up collecting and reading a ton of stuff you normally wouldn't, because everything's always connected, which is fun for storytelling because you could just pull anything from anywhere as long as it's in the surface of the story. So now the movies are doing that. And I can see people having that frustration that I did as a kid, not wanting to pick up books I don't read normally, which is, it's fun because movies have never really done this before. This is such a big thing, but now it's commonplace. It's been, 15 years since we did it. So it's not nearly as inventive, and so many studios have also tried to do it and failed. So I get why they want to commit, have these bigger stories, but I think it may be time to start pulling back and not worrying about what's the next big bad.
Yep.
That's all it seems like anybody cares about.
Less is more.
Yeah, like the next Spider-Man movie, I just need him stopping bank robbers. The Rhino and Scorpion have got these power suits and they're robbing banks. Spider-Man has to stop them. That's it. He better not be fighting any space lasers or anything like that. I just want simple Spider-Man story. And hopefully some of these will come back to that. I think Captain America, the new one, I can't see that being connected to some big Kang thing. I think it will be a Captain America story fighting some Captain America villain, the New World Order, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it can just be simple. Whereas Marvel's being a space thing, it's like, no, we're going to run into a Kang like thing, a Guardians like thing, something.
Right.
And that's going to expand the story. Let's get simple, Marvel.
Yeah, like if you look at the Dark Knight trilogy, the original Spider-Man trilogy, it's like all these very successful franchises have just been like, well, each movie they're just fighting a different villain, and if we're trying to raise the stakes, they're just fighting more villains. But it's not like it's set in New York, it's set in Gotham. I know that we're kind of talking about street level heroes here versus like demigod heroes of the MCU, but I just mean like you can have a successful long running franchise that just is like, oh well, this is just the villain of this movie.
Yeah.
But it just feels like here's a villain in this movie that has long lasting things versus just like it just never feels like I have to invest in these villains because it's just like, well, it doesn't really matter because I know Kang's the thing. Or
well, the Dark Knight trilogy was kind of like the last one to stay unconnected to anything else. They didn't try to work in any sort of Superman bullshit or anything.
Sure.
Because, Dark Knight and Iron Man came out same year.
Right.
The idea of a multi-connected universe just wasn't even a thing. So that's another like credit to Nolan and his trilogy, that it is just one of the last comic book movies that didn't even think of trying to make it more than what it is.
And I mean, we'll see where the Batman goes in terms of like now that, well, they said it's a separate thing. It's an Elseworld thing,
which is great.
Which is good.
Because Batman has always been two things. There's street level, stopping bank robbers and criminals and muggers and stuff, and then there's the one that goes into outer space and punches Darkseid. They're very different Batman. And Robert Pattinson's can be that street level one, and then the what is it called? Dynamic Duo or Cape Crusader?
Dynamic Duo.
Is it the Dynamic Duo?
No. Duo is in the name though.
Whatever it is, the one with him and Damian, because that could be connected to Superman and things like that. That's a Batman that can go into space. I'm fine with that. And so sometimes like you just keep them separate. It's fine. We could have multiple Batmen. It's no big deal. People are smart enough that they can understand that it's not the same thing.
I mean, I think I said this when we did our Batman, the Batman podcast. It's like it's interesting that you made the gritty, dark movie of The Dark Knight, and it's like it. Set the tone for Batman movies in terms of like, this is a dark, realistic take on Batman. And then you have The Batman come out, and it's like, yeah, that was dark and gritty. We're going to go even darker and even grittier and even more emo.
Yeah. More like, smoke, more slime. This place is disgusting.
And it's just as cool. And it's just like, and I've said it before, it's like, I just want like the weirdos to come back. I want Batman to face Clayface and Mr. Freeze and Man-Bat, the Lizard. No, the Lizard's
Killer Croc.
Killer Croc, yeah, thank you. Like I want to see those villains, and but now it's like if that's where Batman and Robin are going in the James Gunn verse or whatever we're calling it now, like I'm excited for that. Yeah. But it's just like,
but then what's left for Robert Pattinson? Well, the Joker again, Harley Quinn. All these like boring people that we've already seen.
It's just the Dark Knight again, but different.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm complaining about a movie that I love and put as like my number 2 of last year. I do love that movie. I'm just saying like I don't want to see Batman fight the same 5 guys because they don't spend the money to make Clayface or Mr. Freeze, or like they're too hard to write because they're too silly. It's like, well, yeah, but like just be smart, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that's it.
What's next week? I have no idea what comes out next week because the week after is Creed 3. And the week after that is 65. And the week after that...
Is it some, like, Christian movie? That there's just like, oh, this is the Christian movie week, so we can fill in a spot before the other stuff comes out. Did they fast?
Cocaine Bear. Cocaine Bear is next weekend. Yeah. So expect that.
That movie's probably gonna suck, but I'm still looking forward to it.
I don't care how good or bad, as long as a bear is eating people. That's what I'm there for. It's one of my favorite genres is animals eating people movies. So I'm cool with it. Okay. Geez. Anything else?
Nope.
You don't want to talk about the Flash trailer and Super Bowl, nothing like that.
No,
we don't have to.
Yeah, no, we can talk about it. Yeah, here's my thoughts on Flash trailer. Don't care. There's a lot going on, and I think there's a lot of stuff in that makes people go like, "Oh, that's cool. That looks exciting. Michael Keaton's back." But like, one, who fucking cares?
Me.
Why?
Because he's Michael Keaton. He's one of the best Batman, and the fact that he came back when he's like 95 years old is amazing.
But it's the fact that he came back and you have that shot of him like diving down and like kicking ass, and it's all super CGI. I'm like, it just
if they had that technology at the time, they would have been making Batman do that stuff. I'm fine with it.
No. I mean, I'm not complaining about like the move or anything. It's just like Michael Keaton's so old, and is he supposed to be like a younger Batman? It's like if you brought in Michael Keaton to be Batman Beyond Bruce Wayne, I'm all for it.
I think that was the idea.
That's fine.
Before this,
but he's just playing himself.
He's Batman from a different universe. That's all it is.
Okay. And
this is from the guy that said Fast X looks pretty fun, and you think this looks stupid? Fast X looks terrible. Terrible. Even for Fast and Furious standards, it looks like Jason Momoa looks like a shit villain. And once again, it's just another guy from their past coming to get revenge. That's every movie. And the cast is huge, and no one's gonna die, you know. And you know, Gal Gadot's supposedly back as well. Like, it's too big. It's awful. Terrible franchise as a whole. They have like 3 good movies. Everything else is pretty much trash. And the Flash looks actually really interesting. They're doing Flashpoint, and that's like the only good Flash story.
No. Well, I think what a big part of like why I also don't care about this movie is none of it matters. Here's a movie. There's going to be this Shazam and Aquaman 3, and then this DCU universe eliminated.
Yeah.
Kang came and destroyed their universe.
But this is the movie that does it. They're using it to reboot the whole universe, so that makes it more interesting. I know it kind of makes Shazam and Aquaman kind of like weird to come out after the fact. This should be the very last thing.
Well, I think Shazam comes out, and then this, and then Aquaman.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
So,
yeah, Aquaman will be like the weirdest stakes of like, who gives a fuck?
This exists now to just go, this movie is here to destroy everything that came before so they can do a new thing. Is that what you're telling me?
Pretty much, yeah. Because James Gunn even said like he's still even open to keeping Ezra Miller as the Flash to have some connection. But I don't think that's going to happen.
No, that's not going to happen.
But yeah, this is pretty much going to unmake everything, or at least just go like, wow, there's so many other versions out here. Wonder what else I could find. And he zips off, and then it's just open to, whoa, now we can do anything.
My argument to your Fast critique,
okay,
I 100% agree with everything you said. And I would say that Fast and Furious is, I think, the closest thing to Marvel in a weird way than any other universe franchise that's out there, because it's essentially a bunch of people doing superhuman things ridiculously, where no one dies, much like the MCU. Where I think the MCU tries to be good, and the reason I can kind of go like, this new one looks kind of fun, is like, I know it's not going to be good. I know they don't make these to be like great films, even though Vin Diesel comes out every year and says like, this is the closest thing to Godfather that's ever existed, or like this franchise is really close to
He's pathetic, and he's losing, like he has nothing else but his pre-existing things. Like he's going to be Riddick again. They're making another Riddick movie.
I don't care. My point is that, and I haven't watched 9 yet. I know 9 is bad. I watched 8. I did not like 8 at all.
9's worse.
But from a straight trailer standpoint, I think this one looks fun. Where even though I know it's probably like, I can go into that movie going like, I don't expect this to be good, and I'll leave with a smile on my face because I was like, yep, it's exactly what I expected. I'm okay with this being bad because I was ready for it.
Okay.
Where like every MCU movie I go into, I'm like, I'm hoping it's good. And more often than not now, I'm being more disappointed than I was during the earlier phases.
Okay.
Because they're just doing too much, or like weird character stuff, or jokes aren't funny, or whatever it is. There's just mountains of evidence. There's enough good that I still enjoy watching them, but they're not great. So that's my counter argument to you, where like the fact that here's a movie that with the Flash just, and it's a terrible person in the lead role of a movie that has a bunch of stuff that just looks more like Justice League stuff to me, where it's like, oh, in a trailer that looks cool, but I bet it's going to be like god awful, or there's going to be like cringy dialogue, or there's going to be just a bunch of like, here's a character, here's this stuff to be thrown at you just to like put butts in seats. It's like, oh, isn't this cool that they're here? It's like, I don't care about Kara Danvers. I don't know anything about Kara Danvers.
No. Danvers is Captain Marvel.
Oh, who's
her name is Kara L, right?
Oh.
She's a cousin of Superman.
Sure. Okay. See,
but I think actually in this one she may be an offspring of Zod, because I guess in this universe they're doing Man of Steel with Zod again, but Superman never came. Ben Affleck is not Batman. The only like superhero is Michael Keaton's Batman, and fucking Zod shows up. So then they're doing the that story where Superman was grabbed by the government and put into a cell under a red light, and he was just like weak the whole time. They're doing that with Supergirl.
Sure.
So it's kind of fun to revisit this other movie and just change the stakes completely.
Yeah, that's a direction you could take it, but it's the fact that none of it matters.
Sure.
That's just like,
but does anything, man? We got like a burning cloud of chemicals in Ohio, and we're all gonna die eventually. So,
well, it does and it does. Yes, I know you're just fucking with me, but yeah, I just
counter that argument.
It's like DC, other than the Batman, just hasn't done anything for me. Yeah.
Oh, we still have Joker 2 to come out in 2000.
Oh, yeah.
2020.
Okay.
Is it 24 or 25?
I forgot about Joker. I think it's
Joker.
Folie du.
Yeah, it's what it's Edu Toilet.
Yeah, so
that'll be fun.
But if that's any indication, if you're talking the best DC stuff is just like solo movies that have no grand scheme of like universe stuff, they're not super CGI heavy or whatever, then just do that.
Hint, hint. It's Warner Brothers.
The Batman win an Oscar, or nominated for Oscars. I don't think it won anything. Yeah, the Joker winning Oscars.
Made $1 billion.
It's like, what? There's no giant action sequences in the Joker. It's a character study of a psycho and like his, rise to like find acceptance in a society that doesn't accept him.
And gritty, and
it's like the Batman. It has giant action set pieces, sure, but like all of his his
biggest action set piece is a car chase. Well,
I would say it's a giant wave coming through the city and destroying
but it's not like he's outrunning the wave or anything. It's just it affects him.
Yeah, it's those two movies, phenomenal films. And just do that.
Yeah. And they even said like we want to do more things like Joker for villains, and the next logical one is Mr. Freeze, and do Heart of Ice and just retell that story. And if you can ground that and make it good, then boom, you already have your in for the Batman to make him the villain. And you don't have to try to do his story within a Batman story. So you can start connecting them without having to go, wow, look how big our interconnected universe is.
I don't think I've ever read them, but I'm pretty sure we can cut all this because we're running long now, because I knew we would.
Nice short episode.
We always do.
We need a buzzer, and it's like goes off every 7 minutes, and like now it's time to change the subject.
Yeah. But I have so much more to say. I'm pretty sure there's a comic book series called like Arkham Origins or something like that, but it was just like there's a couple different novels and they're each a story of a different villain. It's like, I'm not saying I want a bunch of like the Batman universe where every movie is just like, this is the Mr. Freeze movie, but I'm just
files from the Arkham City files, something.
Yeah, there's enough here. There's enough great Batman villains that where you could do a series, you could do solo movies of all of them. Not that I want that, but I think that's just like, oh, so there's enough character work here to pull interesting stories and make good movies with Batman and them in it and make it. You could do it.
Each movie starts with the parole board, and you have someone in the chair and stuff, and they're like, Mr. Trask. No, what's Mad?
Zaz?
No, what's Mad Hatter's name?
Oh, I forget.
Virgil Kent? No, what am I thinking of? But it'll be like, Mr. Bad Hatter, you've been in prison for a while, you're up for parole. Let's review your file. And then you tell the backstory. And then that's just your what's the fucking word called? That's your framework of this series of the files of Arkham City. And then it's like, Mr. Clayface, have you learned your lesson? Yada, yada, yada. Let's look in the file. And then you flash back and you tell their whole story. And then at the end they go, denied. And then cut to black credits.
Or, you do that a couple times. And then you get to the Joker's one. And then it's denied. And then there's an explosion. And then the
gavel explodes when they hit.
Or like makes a...
I don't know why they have a gavel. I don't think they even have a gavel for it.
I don't know. But of course let's do it. Let's do it, yeah. Or it makes that like squeaky toy sound that it gets. It's like, what the heck? And the building explodes, they all escape. It's like Joker still gets out of prison, even though he was denied. And
because you replace my hammer with the squeaky toy, you get an extra 5 years. They'd be like, totally worth it. So fun things like that. It could be a movie, it could be a series, whatever. But
we just talked about Batman. It's like, well, then how do we bring in Superman into this world? You know how you do it? You do Cataclysm or No Man's Land. That's what it is. It's like
they kind of did it in Dark Knight Rises. A little bit. Breaking the bridges, isolating Gotham.
I'm just saying Superman shows up in that storyline and it like makes sense and he's not like really doing Superman shit, but
isn't he like under control from Poison Ivy? Oh no, that's Hush. I'm sorry.
That's a different thing. Yeah. But yeah, he just shows up. He's like, I'm here to help Bruce. And Bruce is just like, get the fuck out of here. And he's like, you can't help here. And then Superman like tries to, and he realizes like, oh shit, I can't help here. All right, peace. And then Superman just leaves.
Yeah.
And that's how you bring him in. You can have him in the universe, but not be useful. You can have Batman. It's like, oh, I need to go to this thing. This guy who I was chasing, he ran across the bay to Metropolis. And then you spend a movie in Metropolis, and you run into Clark Kent, and you stop by the Daily Planet. You can like have interconnected things. Maybe Superman shows up for one scene to like save Batman, and they just have like I don't like you, man, and Bruce, and then Clark Kent's just like, all right, buddy. Gives him a little smooch on the cheek and then flies away. And then that's it. Like you can have a big universe, but only have like one scene that shows this guy exists.
Yeah.
Do that. I also like the idea of Superman just giving Batman little butterfly kisses.
Well, that's one of the new DC movies. I can't remember which one it is, but it's Apollo and the Midnighter. And they're two characters who are like your Batman, Superman, and they're gay. And they're in a relationship, and like Batman and Superman who like fuck and then also do Batman and Superman things. Like, pretty cool idea.
So Batman's definitely the top, and or do you think they're both like? Verse?
They're verse, yeah. It would be like I'm the top. No, I'm the top, and it's like okay, well this time you could be the top, but next time, and that's the only way they're ever able to fuck is because they have to take turns.
Yeah, because I mean.
Batman's not submitting to no one.
Yeah, that's what I would think. But at the same time, it's just like, I just can't see, like, he's got impenetrable skin. How's his dick getting in there? We're cutting all this.
Kryptonite condom.
But like,
it weakens his butthole enough to loosen up to get himself
Wouldn't that be so uncomfortable? I mean, a dick in your ass would be uncomfortable anyway. But like, a kryptonite condom, like, I want to throw up and there's a dick in my butt.
It feels like I'm going through chemotherapy and I'm getting fucked. Yeah. No, Superman just has to learn to relax and open himself up.
Or is it like, I guess it could be, I'm not going to get into this. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying scientifically, it's like the guy can fall into a vat of acid. And I'm assuming that acid's not going to go into his butt because it's not like his weak point.
Probably not.
Unless it's just like, he clenches so tight because he's the man of steel that it's an iron smith.
Yeah.
But how's his dick get in there, Ben?
and then if Superman is fucking Batman, and they said it in Clerks, he probably ejaculates like a shotgun blast, so he's blowing off Batman's upper torso every time.
Right,
so,
of course.
like, maybe they don't fuck, Maybe they just do hand stuff.
Hand stuff and mouth stuff. But then Superman has to go like
He's like,
tap
go. No. Bruce Wayne has a huge hole in his head. Ooh, was it Deadshot? Did someone come for the Batman?
Someone did. This is stuff that should be the podcast, but can't be.
I could leave it all in. It's fine. We didn't say anything bad. We're just talking about two healthy men
having a consensual, loving sexual relationship.
Yeah, but could be dangerous. You know,
could be dangerous. Yeah.
I'm leaving it. I'm gonna leave
it. Yeah, it's one of those weird things where it's like, this exists on like Pornhub somewhere probably, or like fan fiction. And so you can't ever really do it because these are like hero icons for children.
Yeah.
But as you do age and you do talk about these things, there is a version of you that's like, look, I ain't gay, but I would definitely, like, if they put Robert Pattinson and Henry Cavill in a movie where it's like, Batman and Robin are fucking in this.
You mean Batman, Superman?
Batman
and Robin? No.
Batman and Superman are fucking in this movie. Yeah. I'm gonna see that.
Pre-ordering those tickets.
I'm not talking about like full frontal. No. I'm just saying like I want that sex scene on screen. I think
it would piss so many people off. Like, how dare you? It's un-American for Superman.
People trying to push their gay agenda into our movies. So it's like, nah, man, it's not about that. You just want to see two superheroes fuck each other for once.
Hey, there isn't. Superman's son is gay, Jonathan Kent is gay, so they could always do that, maybe, eventually, at some point.
No, it would just be like him kissing a dude and like,
so gay. I think he does have like a normal person boyfriend, but I'm not sure, because I don't really follow DC.
I think the Kents are kind of like men of the people, and so they would just date normies and not superheroes.
Yeah, because that. But see, you gotta date a superhero, because if the danger comes, what's always if we were together, then what if my villains will come after you? Well, if you date a hero,
if you date Wonder Woman, well, like Wonder Woman would be fine.
Yeah, go ahead, come for her. Yeah, do it.
She'll hurt you more than me.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's enough butt stuff.
But speaking of comic books, I have one other thing I want to talk to you about.
Oh, yeah?
Once again, we can cut all this. But did you know that there's going to be a Last Ronin prequel, sequel kind of thing? Yeah. And they introduced...
I mean, what's to tell?
They introduced 4 new turtles. Yeah. So the IDW, the company that does this current run of comics after the huge success of The Last Ronin. They've done I think it's supposed to be part prequel, part sequel. But at the end, you read The Last Ronin, right?
No. You just told me about all of it.
Right. Well, you can borrow it if you want.
All right.
I got it for Christmas. Just do your best not to get your greasy, gross fingers on it or whatever. But at the end of this comic book, Michelangelo dies, and so the turtles are all gone, but April O'Neil's daughter has 4 turtles, and it's like the last panel of the series where she's like, I can't wait for you guys to grow up, and then there's like a bottle of mutant gin or whatever in the background that like April's working on. So now this series will follow the 4 new turtles, and it's 2 girls, 2 boys. They all look very different, where like the main Ninja Turtles all look the same.
Yeah. Is one like a snapping turtle, one's like a sea turtle, one's more of a tortoise.
So like 3 of them look similar-ish, but there's one that's just like the huge tank kind of person. That looks more snapping turtle-like.
Okay.
You can Google image and see them. But their names are 1, like the number 1 in different languages. So there's like Moha and there's Odin, but with a Y. I can tell from your face you don't care for these names, but
why? Like the original, they're all like master artists. So now that it's being like the future and the cyberpunk world, they should do 4 great inventors, and then you would have like Edison or Tesla, things like that.
Look, I don't know why.
Oh no, they're all different language for 1? That's stupid. Why? Why 1?
I guess And
like they're all one. If it was like you're 1 in German, you're 2 in Spanish, you're 3 in French, you're 4 in Hungarian, whatever. Okay, that makes sense. But it's like I'm 1 and I'm 1 and I'm 1.
Well, I guess that's kind of you going like, well, I'm ranking you guys, even though like I'm not. It's just you guys were just how the order you were born. I think the idea is just like you're all, and once again, it's just my guess because I don't think the issues have really come out. It's like you're all your own individual ones, but you're also one team. And so that's kind of like the thing of it.
No.
And like one of the boys and girls have like a kind of combative relationships. They're like, are they gonna? Which one of those are gonna grow up to be the leader? Is like the girl more Raphael or whatever? And then there's one that has like orange kind of like stripe kind of look down the side.
Okay.
So it's like that's kind of like the Michelangelo looking one, but that's actually the one. She's really into science. Like she's always tinkering with like whatever April O'Neil is. So like, oh, so she's gonna be the Donatello type.
Do they still have headbands and stuff? Like, are they going to use the same colors, but maybe different identities? Like, oh yeah, she's orange. She's going to have the orange headband, but she's the scientist. And the party dude is the blue, you know?
So from the YouTube video that I watched, you've only seen them as small children so far. Like they haven't learned karate yet or kung fu, whatever the fuck. Ninjutsu. Yes, thank you. But there is a panel of them, like, or at least like a concept art of all of them, like as adults. But it's like a gray and white photo, so you can tell who's who from like you see them as like colored young ones, but then they're like them in just like pencil drawings or whatever. There's not like they're not wearing headbands or anything, so I don't know what their plan is that way. I think you just from a iconic standpoint, you're gonna have to put him in some form of headband, maybe
something
directly across.
Yeah, I mean, but it could be like, oh yeah, I wear a bandana, and
it's like they have like masks that just cover their mouths.
Yeah, like they're stagecoach robbers or something. And it's like they could put it up over their head, wear it like a do-rag, they could put it around their neck like
or if this
handkerchief.
Is set in sort of a more cyberpunk sort of scenario, they're wearing glasses that have like their individual colors.
Sure, yeah.
That can be kind of cool. But anyway, the reason I brought it up is one, I like the Ninja Turtles, and Last Run was an amazing series. But I'm interested to see like if this is the new generation of Turtles. Like, is this going to be like just a graphic novel, or is it going to be like a long-standing series?
This takes off.
Yeah, like what's the thing? Especially if like it could be an opportunity to bring in new interesting villains, or are they just gonna like rehash old ones because no one cares about new ones? They like all the originals. I don't know, but this is the first time we've seen new Turtles outside of just like oh well, we brought in a girl
Venus de Milo. Yeah. God, what so stupid. Like, I know there's probably not a lot of women Renaissance artists, but I'm sure there's at least one. But she gets named after a piece of art. I don't like that at all.
Well, and I don't know enough about Venus de Milo because I don't know all that much. But in this new current series that IDW is doing, they do have a girl that joins the team at some point, and she's yellow. But she was
nice.
But she was a human that turned into a turtle person. So, and her name is Janeka. I think she was like I don't know if she was in the Foot Clan or something, but she was like she's an Asian girl who like was a trained ninja or something that got turtle goo on her or something. Then she became a turtle, so now she's just part of the team. Versus like they were turtles that became human-like.
No, that
so
works
she has
for me.
like. That's why she doesn't have a Renaissance name because she was just a human.
She's
already.
a person. I already got a name.
Okay, yeah. So
they make the Asian one yellow. Come on,
at least I think she was Asian.
Do better. Yeah, I think they
were limited on colors, man. There's only so many in the rainbow.
Yeah, sure. It's like the only other one besides yellow is green, and you're not going to put a green bandana on a green turtle.
It's like yellow or black. It's like,
I think you go black, white, and then maybe like brown and
brown looks so ugly.
I know, but I think it'd be kind of cool. And then, but it's like, what's another gray? I don't know.
I guess you could do pink. But then it's like, we're putting a girl in pink. That seems sexist.
Yeah.
And then we're putting the Asian person in yellow.
Yeah,
it's like,
what is it, the Power Rangers? Come on! It's like if you went the more muted things. If you did just like black, white, silver, and brown. Something simple. Yeah. Well, you want to let's wrap it up a second time before we got into trailer talk. You want to guess at what we're at now?
225.
240.
Dang.
Yeah. So this nice short episode is not so short.
I mean, this was just me and you talking. This wasn't necessarily for the pod. I just wanted to tell you about other stuff that I've seen. And
sure,
whatever.
but it was all good stuff, and we were having a good chuckle, and people may care about our opinion of these things.
At least the Batman, Superman fucking stuff.
Yeah.
Everyone cares about that.
Well, thanks for listening to another way too long episode. We only had 5 topics to talk about, and it went so long, but
we love to hear ourselves talk.
Yeah. Well, if you want to get in contact with us, we are at WRPL Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Gmail. Let us know, what do you think the 4 Turtles name should be? You know, should it be something stupid like they're doing, or something better like I said? Hit us up. And hell yeah, I'm supposed to have it like a new sign off or something. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Keep on consuming.
Keep on consuming.
Hot dog shit.